Hey, Benny's here.
Hello,
Hey,
guys.
Benny.
Good evening.
Evening, guys.
This
Cogs,
tonight,
all the stuff on Wax, simple
yeah,
assets and all that fun stuff.
tonight. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Tonight, will be very casual but very good. I'm really looking forward to this. I think I just wanted to start with the preamble of KOGs was the first thing that we really launched and got a special place in our hearts. Glenn and I constantly reminisce about jumping on the Discord calls every night and doing those exposures and giving you guys that were around back then the sneak previews and the hints and the background and all the rest of it. And it was it's not only a special time in the project, it's a special time in our lives. Like we really I miss that, to be honest. I think it was was awesome, and that was because of you guys. You guys actually built an amazing community. And just a couple of little stats, as you probably already know. I think we were the third collection to launch on Wax. We were the first collection to do $10 million in secondary market trading volume, based on the Wax price at the time. Obviously, that fluctuates, but we've tried many things over the years. And the thing about KOGs is some of you, depending on the stakings and all the rest of it, I've spoken to many of you that hold considerable amounts since the beginning, and a lot of you have already done okay out of them, and you sort of think to yourself, well, it's still nice to
Benny,
see
we
them
lost you,
revive.
Benny.
Oh,
I still hear him just fine. It's
Yeah,
you.
you're cutting in and out.
I hear him just fine
that's because
I hear him just
I
fine.
got some Malaysian talking over me, mate. That's why.
too.
Yeah, and I'm not.
Yeah, this Malaysian can hear you. That Malaysian can't, unfortunately.
So, so we really love the KOGs brand and IP still. I was saying to Glenn, I've still got all my KOGs t-shirts, and I make sure I wear one a week. And I sort of thought, what's a good challenge? And I really want to get you guys to sort of help me make it so that I want to accept trades and have the carve that time out to accept trades, because obviously that's become a bit of a memeable event. One thing we know about KOGs as well is that you guys have formed friendships in here based on the collection and the trading that you've done. Friendships that'll last a very, very long time, and hopefully for some of you for the rest of your lives. And I think it's also probably made enemies out of some of you with people not willing to trade and doing stupid stuff. But ultimately, that's the color and the craziness of the ecosystem. It's fantastic. And there's a very strong reason why we didn't include that in the other call, and why we're making this a separate thing, because KOGs has the ability to do really, really well. And we think, being very honest, that this is the cycle that we have to sort of make sure that gets back to the forefront, gets the love that it deserves and needs. And just going back to the previous point I made about myself and King of KOGs, we know how much time and effort was put into that, and how much time went into preparing every day and getting everything ready and making sure that we were on song, and that we had lots of stuff for you guys. And it's time consuming, but it's extremely rewarding. So, someone have a guess. Where am I going with this? See
A
if someone's
30-minute trading session with the entire community where you actually do some trades.
Yeah, let's see if someone's smart enough to get this. No. No, it's not bringing anything up. I think, oh wow, you guys are undershooting the mark now. Undershooting.
Hanford, why'd you share that picture of those ugly dudes?
If anyone guesses it, I'll give you we'll give away a KOGs prize if you can guess it. But ultimately, the thing I love about specifically about this community is that we've all been around, done a lot together, and it's really got a culture, like a brand identity and a feel to it. And it's kind of like very casual, very cool, and a little degen, and I love it. I think it's wonderful. But I'm just trying to amble along while you're putting your guesses through. Cogs moving. Oh my god, I need glasses. Off the.
What are we guessing?
So what am I talking about? What am I going to allude to? What are we going to talk about tonight? Asking for juice, staking for juice. Cogs getting
You're talking about the
renamed.
winner of the RFOX 2020 from the last competition?
No.
Okay, real quick. Half the people are talking in games general and other people are talking in the main chat. We need
Yeah,
to
I was just-
consolidate to one chat,
Ah,
please.
Yeah, that's why I was like
Yeah.
trying to figure out where they're
talking
going.
games chat, please.
Yep.
So what are we doing? Which chat are we going to consolidate to? Main chat or game chat?
Games chat would be
Games chat.
easier. Yeah.
Okay, game chat. Hang on, let me get across
Yeah,
to
that'd
there.
be easier because if not, we're going to be flooded with hard to find questions in between.
So games general, right?
Yeah, games general.
Okay, awesome. Sorry, that's my
No
fault.
worries.
So because they bug you. No. Let's have a look. Here we go. What are we guessing? There you go. Yeah, some great friendships have been formed. We did a thing a couple of years ago. I'm not sure whether you were here or not. You probably were. We did a thing where we sort of whipped around and we got some stories from the community. I'd love to do that again. I think it's we had some awesome stories. We brought out the memes again. Some of those memes are my all-time favorites as well. Easter eggs, no. Cogs new edition drop, no. No.
What's the question?
Can we just say hell no to a COGS new edition?
What are we here to talk about? What's the topic of tonight for the Degen Hour? What's the Cogs?
I think you're finally going to say something about the first key to another game, I hope. Maybe.
We're here to talk to you about something that I think should excite you guys a lot. So, all right, let me give you some more clues and see if you can piece that together. So, what we're saying is we know that now's the time that it has to. We have to make sure that during this cycle, a lot of new people are going to be coming in. The gaming narrative, AI, metaverses, that's going to be three huge and the pillars of this cycle. So, what we really want to do is put it where it should be, position it where it should be. It's something that you guys had mentioned a billion times in the early years. I don't know how much you've been mentioning it recently. I know Pokemon. Oh, that was fucking hilarious. And the meme with anyone that can remember the meme with the gun and the pillow. Keys to Orange. Okay, no. All right. So let me get into it. Wheels, tournaments, no. Okay. So what we want to talk to you about is, all right, let me ask you a few questions. Who knows COGS as a product and an ecosystem better than you guys? Come on.
And look at Endless answer. My God.
These burns, that's epic.
Okay, so you guys know it better than anybody else. So what we wanted to talk about is the formation of a DAO and the chance for you guys. I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about you guys. So a licensed way to be able to build around the IP, work out incentives, rewards, bring people in, much the same as Magic and Treasure and many others have done before. And I know a lot of you have been screaming about this for a long time. Yes, so a DAO, a cow. There you go. Or how would you pronounce that? Cow. So what we want to do is give you some suggestions and have you put your suggestions forward. We've had some rippers before, some absolute rippers come from you guys previously. We just feel as though if this is done now the right way, by people who love it, and we know when you bring people in from outside, despite anyone's best intentions, it's very hard. It takes time to get your head around. It takes time to understand it. We keep getting told about rewards, or have you hooked up with this game? Do you know about that collection? Have you talked to these people? What we want to do is arm you with the ability to be able to do that, to be able to really help steer what happens around the IP. So the IP, of course, KOGs official collection. If you wanted to do a KOGs official collection, that would be something you'd come back and sort of put a proposal in or submit. But I'm talking about collaborations, partnerships, staking, rewards, all of that type of stuff. First order of business is burn the shitty editions. There you go. Okay, well, that's it. So this is the thing. The thing is, I've anticipated a long list of questions, and what we want to do is make this very clear. We want to give you the ability to control the proposals, ratify them, put them through, do the governance around things. I've heard so many of you over the years say, hey, we should do a collab with these guys or a partnership with these guys, or we should bring in games from other ecosystems. The thing is that this would allow you guys to be able to have the ability to do that through the DAO, and to be able to really focus on how to build sustainable systems for rewards, new players coming in. I can talk about a million different examples that we were given, that we've referenced, that you've had. I don't know if any of you have looked at Treasure DAO and Magic, but I think the power of people that love COGs, that are all about COGs and around COGs, has a far wider reach, and will have a far wider reach and impact than any other route.
Benny, where
yes.
are you thinking of this DAO being created? Are you thinking of the Orange Network?
So 100%, I would say, and that's a very good question that you asked. So this is a very clear and easy answer for us. We would say that we would definitely want the definitely get the token to launch on AVAX, but you can obviously, if people come on, it's your decision. If you guys say, look, we want to bridge across to ETH or to WAX or whatever, obviously the COGs are already on WAX, and that's the ecosystem that they sit on. But ultimately, I don't think that WAX have an official bridge across from AVAX to WAX, as I know. Someone in this community will know for sure. As last I checked, they didn't. But there's plenty of options and methods and ways that you can do that for sure and certain. But yeah, so the way I see it, is definitely once Orange would be ready, that would be an obvious play. But as an AVAX ERC until then, yes. And I think if you have a look at AVAX, one of the reasons that drew us there, because we looked at Cardano and a million others in the beginning, is that AVAX looks like it's got a very heavy gaming centric, and the one thing that it didn't really have was it didn't have strong metaverse representation. It didn't have strong. It sort of has a couple and has a few things coming in, but it looks like it's going to be a pretty active gaming. And a lot of the Alex Beckers of the world talk about the fact that they think that AVAX is going to be a pretty big ecosystem for gaming this run. Is that answering your question?
It is.
Retiring? Sorry, go.
Sorry, I said it does, I guess, but in terms of, is there going to be any assistance from RFOX? How's this going to work? Is it just going to magically appear? How does this work?
Oh, that's the great thing. Yeah, so what we can do is we can put some, we've got some models that we can put forward to you guys that you can vote on or ratify. We just want to be very clear that this DAO would be something that is that definitely gets our support and assistance from many different angles. But ultimately, we don't want to be doing any type of we're not going to do any type of token sale or anything like that. If you guys, as a DAO, decide, oh, we want to do, like, let me give you an example. And I'm not saying to do this. I'm saying, let me give you an example. One of the stories I heard with one of the others was a collection came and said, I want to join your ecosystem. And they did some sort of a swap. They basically said, we'll take a percentage of your DAO tokens, and in return, we'll give you our collection and we'll become part of your DAO. And then the DAO did the release of that, and then they used that as liquidity and paying for fees for wages and all the rest of it. But honestly, one thing that we're very mindful of, and one thing we want to be very clear on, because this is a baby of ours, of course. We want to really we know that you guys care about that. We know you're passionate about it, and we're trying to basically say, look, the IP is important, and we want to make sure that we protect that. But the whole ecosystem around that, there is no better group of people to do that. And you've screamed for years about having clear incentive structures, or how are we going to get other games, because we've talked about keys to other games for years, and we've built a couple of games, and we've got players on those games and stuff. But what about other ecosystems or other games that want to come and join KOGs? And we've talked to many over the years. So this gives it a chance to really open up, and for you guys to to take this ball by the horns. But again, this is something that we're floating to you, and if it's something that has an overwhelming yes, as you've asked for over the years, then I think that's something that we'll give you as much help and support as we possibly can. Can't take time away from KOGs Quest. There you go. Lala, help me with some questions. My eyesight is shocking at this time of the night.
Sure, no worries. All right. I'll list down a few. I'm going to take a few here. Okay. From Madame. So is RFOX giving up the KOGs IP, and will it belong to the DAO?
No. So the IP, I've got to be really clear on that. The IP, no. And I've prepared what I thought questions you might ask, and that was like, what happens with the current collections and all the rest of it? They would stay the same. Like some of you have already suggested, where you said burn the shitty ones or whatever. We've tried things over the years of trying to say, like, do this, burn these, reduce this amount, all the rest of it. But the thing is, this is the whole point of decentralization, right? What happens at the moment is you guys go, what's happening with this? When's the next thing for this going to be? And we've got a team of people in our company that sit around and specifically deal with KOGs and work out, the next game piece, the next collection, how the next piece will work. What's really important is that that's opened up, and that you guys have got the ability to really expand that and have that and build that out around the IP. Now, for collaborations and stuff like that, that's how that would work. So let's take. I don't want to choose the wrong one, so you guys give me an example, because I don't want to say one that you think's bad or good. But just you mention it so that I'm not the one mentioning it. Any of the collabs. Any KOGs collabs. There you go. You see a meme collection, huh? So that's the thing. So that's okay. Beautiful. Sorry to jump the gun, Lala, because I know you got questions. But look at what Hat 19's written. If you remember, cast your mind back a while, Pete. You probably remember. We had a lot of people saying around the same time as we were looking at CoinDozer and a few of the games early on, we had a lot of people saying there should be something that you can do with lending, borrowing, doing all of that type of stuff. I want to make this really, really clear that the DAO's operation or license to operate would be around that whole ecosystem. So if you're building things that are integrating other games, other applications for the for the COGS brand and ecosystem and all the rest of it. That's up to you guys to put through and ratify. And if you're talking about collabs and stuff, that's something that you'd put up and you'd say, look, I've got a proposal, and I'll just choose it because I'm not seeing one come through. But just say something like Warsaken or something, and you might say, hey, we've always talked about doing a collab together or whatever. You'd put that up, and that would be voted on and ratified, and put through. So it's pretty clear the objective is to obviously get people interested in the trading angle, the playing of games, and also just building that that network and making sure that the COGs that you have and the COGs that you will create are adding to that legacy and making sure that you've got that that ecosystem alive, thriving, and running, and that you're not waiting. That's the point I was trying to make. You're not waiting for a small group of people to sit around and say, okay, now they're going to do this or now they're going to do that. Like, you guys, this is a big thing of trust as well. You guys know the product, you know COGs, you know exactly what would resonate and what wouldn't. Lala.
Alrighty. Will that mean COGs are the entry point to the DAO? Will additions make a difference?
No, so that's a good question as well. We had this conversation many times when we were talking about this, and that is, people would say, well, let's just say that, okay, so the DAO has a governance token, for example, and that the governance token, how would you vote for stuff if that token doesn't exist? How would you vote for the system or the structure? The most logical route would be through the COGs. But if you guys decided that voting happens through COGs and tokens, or COGs and there's it's weighted or whatever, again, that would not be us deciding that. That's you. If you want to go down the direction of doing both or doing that, that's up to you. I'm trying to make that as clear as possible. What we're saying is the DAO would be putting that stuff up for voting and putting that stuff up for preference. And again, I know I've banged on about it a few times before. If you haven't gone and had a look at the Treasure DAO ecosystem, what they do is really, really clever. They do lots of different stuff where creators come in and launch a collection, and the creators don't charge the holders to obtain the collection, unless they've changed the model since I last looked the last 6 months ago. And then what happened was, instead, they would receive magic tokens, and that would have been voted through by the community. And then, so people are starting with these collections that always do well because they have to be voted for. So people are not going to vote for something if they think it's crappy or it's shitty or it's not going to work. So when you've got a whole group of people saying that's of something of interest to us, that's something that we're very interested in, you've got that taste test, you've got that audience already showing their desire for something before it's actually tested or trialed. So that makes a hell of a difference for sure. And Pete or Phil or anyone, if you want to jump in and add context to anything, or just general reference points or things that you think. Pete, you've been in the ecosystem since day dot. Maybe you'd like to, I don't want to put you on the spot, but maybe if, like, I don't know, when you're thinking about a DAO perspective, what sort of comes to your mind as far as things that that people would be aiming to do or achieve or looking to get done?
Well, partnerships for one, for sure, because that one, I mean, there's many sort of like partnerships items that was sent to me, or maybe the rest of the team, but we got limited cycles. We cannot handle all this kind of stuff. Having a DAO would mean that we could put it up for a vote, and then they can decide then. Because my problem previously in the past was always figuring out. I mean, since I took over, right, was okay. All these projects coming in and they're saying that they want to collaborate with us to create a COGS edition, and I got no idea. I mean, some of the projects I do, like, I'm familiar with, but a lot of them I don't know. So how do we weigh this? And having something like a voting system that allows people who have skin in the game, like existing COGS holders, to make that decision, that would definitely help. And they may also suggest stuff that we might not be exposed to.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Phil, you came and have been involved in the game development side, and you've been awesome for what's happened, and a lot of what you do is behind the scenes as well. But what would you hope to see get achieved out of a DAO being formed?
I mean, I think it would be really interesting to see what the community comes up with, because there's only so much we can do internally, and the community has always been pretty vocal about what they want. So now now they would have the ability to move on those suggestions, and I'd like to see that happen.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point as well. Okay,
Kenny,
Lala.
I'm going to take the next question. Okay, sorry,
Yep.
Lala can go ahead and ask the question. I can probably take that.
Actually, I missed two earlier ones. I'm actually going to go with
Yeah.
the two earlier ones. So
Okay,
that's all right.
sure. Okay, I'll answer the question when it comes up.
Yeah. Okay. So I missed one. The early one was actually, how does this fit with the C11 DAO? C11 DAO.
Okay. So the C11 DAO is something that operates within the vault. It's a good question because we've got, as you know, you guys have all been involved and you've been watching that with Wolfie and all the rest of it. We get a lot of people sort of come to us and say, "Hey, we'd like to do something with you." Pete knows we've been very careful with collabs that we've done, and even the collabs that we have done, people have sort of said, "Why did you do that one?" or "Why didn't you do that one?" I think it's really important that we've got a good structure for governance and for deciding that and for working on that. But when it comes to like a C11 DAO or anybody in the vault, Second City, or you've got some of the marquees or whatever, the thing is, we've always said that COGS as part of the ecosystem, and the vault is the platform for the ecosystem, and it means that you can do whatever collabs with whatever people you vote for. You can do whatever you like. That's the thing. That's the point we're trying to make. But there is a couple of questions there, Lala. Hopefully, you'll when you go through those, I'll save it. So I'm not finishing the answer because I know the question's coming up, and I think there's a few points that are very important to clarify and clear that would give greater context for sure.
Roger that. In terms of the next one is from Renee. Steak cogs or chips for juice?
So that would be not up to us at all. That would be up to the Orange team, and also which would largely be also voted on. And that's, like I said, that's a step towards real decentralization. So there would be nothing stopping people from putting proposals in to say, "Hey, can we do that?" But the short and obvious answer, an easy answer to that is, as more exposure comes from different Avalanche projects, which it will, of course, as well. The thing is that when you're doing collabs with different people, you'll have the opportunity to do that type of stuff with them. You guys will come up with way smarter and better ideas. And like Phil said, we've only got certain amount of resource internally and a certain amount of time, and that's why we've sort of talked about this, and we're really, it's a big thing, like I said, it's a baby to us, and we know that if we go through this current cycle coming up and we don't actually sort of get that traction and get things moving and get people interested in COGs and get people into that, then it's going to be tough after that. So we know that now's the time to move. We know that we need people that know the product and that know the ecosystem and how it works. And the thing is, the comments that we've had this week through Unrelated Matters have been, we do talk, we do get to give input, but a lot of the time that doesn't get done, or it can't get done, or you don't have the bandwidth to do it. What we're trying to say is by initiating a DAO, that creates the opportunity, the bandwidth, the resources to be able to do that. So you guys can start getting things moved through much quicker. You can get things vetoed and you can get things green lighted and ticked off and get it moving much faster.
All right, next one. What would be the utility of the token of the COGS DAO?
That's again largely up to you guys. Pete and Phil might have more input on that as well, but obviously it would be the DAO tokens are generally governance tokens. So they give people voting rights, but they're also used as rewards, and it's up to you guys. Most of them are I don't want to say too much because it's filling in all the blanks for you. It's really supposed to be something that you guys feel like you have an active hand and involvement in. Pete or Phil, do you want to add to that? I know, Pete, you've probably got a million things. It's probably the same list as I would say, but you want to add to that?
No, I mean, this is still in the very initial stage, right? So this question I think will be better asked once we've gone to the next stage of figuring out how the tokens being distributed and all that. Because the thing is, without knowing that, then what's the point of talking about the utility of token? But again, the utility of token primarily for any DAO, not specifically for this COGS DAO, would be governance, right?
Yes.
People that hold those tokens would be voting for whatever proposals that might come up.
And just an important point to make on that, Pete, is if you said, like, let's just say that there was a governance token around, and I'm not asking you again to mention any collections or whatever, would have people voted for certain collabs to take place, or would have they voted for other collabs to take place? The thing is, the idea of the DAO and the governance and all the rest of it is to really sort of get people's inputs, to get votes, to work out whether something's going to fly or die, whether or not it's got the interest, whether or not people actually have an appetite for having that happen, or they want to have that happen. And it's not always going to be clear cut 96% to 4%, for example. That you see a lot of these things get put up for proposals and they're 50-50, they're very close. But that's the important part, is to be able to gauge things before they're done. In a centralized system, you build something, you put it out, and you keep your fingers crossed, and you hope that that's what people are going to like or be receptive to or whatever. This gives you the ability to be able to determine whether you're wasting your time or not, or whether you should follow through with something.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you an example that one of, or at least a few of our community members have been bugging me incessantly about, right? And I think people will guess what I'm going to say, but it's a COGS X Forsaken, right? So yes, people have mentioned it in Degen Hours, in just random chats and random questions, right? But if we really put it up to a vote, and we don't have the governance token right now, but let's say if we use COGS as the governance voting, right? And we put it out there. So maybe 3 people said, okay, we're putting this proposal through, right? Assuming somebody who puts a proposal through, then he needs the support of 2 other guys, and it goes through. And now if you look at the whole COGS community, everyone's that's holding COGS, all 20,000 wallets, and get them to vote. Will that vote go through or not? Right? I don't know the answer, obviously, but but maybe there could be like a 94, 6% vote, where 94% says yes, let's do this, right? And then in that case, it's very clear cut. We know that when that thing gets done, gets implemented, and gets released, we know at the very least that there's a significant what do you call this, interest from the community, right? Whereas if we did some other, say KOGs X Pokemon, and if 94% of people says no, we don't want that, and then only apprentice says yes, I want that, then why do it, right? Because if we do it, we know it's going to flop. In the past, like a centralized team, like any other centralized team, we've been doing that. We've been figuring it out, making a decision, and then shipping it out. And then after we ship it out, after development and after pushing it out, and then we get the feedback like, oh, you guys shouldn't have done that. Or, and it was like 50-50, right? Some of the additions went out really well. It did really well, but some of the additions didn't do so well, right? So it's having this voting, as a precursor to the release of a new product or a new edition and all that. We can gauge interest and all that. And I know you guys have talked to me a lot about this, right? This is how come, did you even do back then there was no voting and all that, but people ask, did you even do a survey of whether people would be interested in this, right? Because we don't see any interest in this. And yeah, I think this one would be more formalized way of doing that.
But you know what, guys? This is why this call's a very good and productive call. And you're asking lots of initial questions, and it's good that you guys as community members are put a thumbs up, put a thumbs down, because this is not something that is like, okay, we've designed this and it's being rolled out on Monday and that's how it is. And it's interesting and that's why it's a good conversation to have. Madame, I'm going to single you out here because you posted a thing here and you wrote, right now, who is in the chat that would prefer a COGS DAO? Thumbs up to yes, thumbs down for no. And 6 people said no. Now, Gralek's written, use the COGS as voting power, don't start a token. And 4 people put their thumbs up. Now, those 2 questions, if you were just reading the text of it, would be contradictory almost, but they could actually be very complementary. So just to clarify, is what you're saying as a community and you guys, you're saying we should use the assets to put proposals forward and then vote using the COGS asset as a way of saying yes or no? Is that what I'm reading? Yep, COGS are the token. There you go. So you're saying, to clarify, no to a DAO, but if we had to be a DAO, then use COGS. So good. Let's get this conversation going. Let's get this feedback, because, as I say, we've had many conversations over the years about this, and sorry, just reading through those comments as well. Do you want to keep going through the questions while they're writing this down?
For sure.
Yeah, Lola, I think let's go through the questions and then we try to catch up.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah.
So the next question is, how will COGS remain central to the vault? We need commitment from RFOX that there will be a clear utility for COGS in the vault.
Okay, I'll answer this one. So CJ, my team has been busting up the backend for vault, right? So COGS is definitely an integral part of that. We want anybody to plug into the vault to be able to utilize COGS and have COGS front and center within the vault. I mean, yes, you got other collections as well, but definitely COGS. I mean, as you can see from our showcases, like, oh wait, shit, I think I let it slip. We have not released it yet, but it's coming. So yeah, I shouldn't say that. I will not ruin Luke's thunder. That's a product thing, but something in the vault is coming and it's directly related to COGS or some of the COGS products that we've released in the past. So yes, we are definitely building the backend to be able to cater for that, and then you guys that come in can just utilize that, right? Hopefully that answers your question. Lala, you want to go to the next one?
Yes, I am. Would RFOX release their ad open packs of COGS, etc., to the DAO
Yes,
incentivization?
for sure, 100%.
Okay. What if the community doesn't want a COGS DAO?
Then there's no. If the community didn't want a DAO, then there'd be no one to run the DAO, right? So there's absolutely no point, and that's why, again, I have to reiterate this. What we're trying to do is have open dialogue, and we're trying to have conversations based on what has previously been suggested, brought up. But my point still remains the same from the beginning, and the reason that we're prepared to entertain the conversation now is due to the fact that we understand that this cycle is going to introduce a lot of new gamers and players and people into the Web3 space. And it's really important. And I think all of us, everybody on this call, that's why we're here, wants to make sure that COGS is seen and is at the forefront of that. So that question is very easy to answer. If people don't want to do a DAO, there wouldn't be a DAO. It's that simple.
All right, next one. What would be the utility of the token of the COGS DAO?
Yeah, I think we've covered that one in the saying governance and then
Sure.
up to, yeah.
Got it. All right. Would you consider using the old COGS collection as liquidity for lending and borrowing?
Yeah, so that would be something that the DAO would decide for sure.
What happens to COGS royalties?
If there was a DAO to go ahead, the COGS royalties that already exist would remain the same. Any type of collection that was a COGS DAO collection, then they would be obviously an element of the royalties that would go to the DAO, of course.
You set license to operate for COGS DAO. Can that license be revoked?
When I was saying license, I was meaning the ability to, as in flexibility to, ability to.
Gotcha. Would RFOX provide a district for the COGS DAO?
Yes, of course. I think obviously we've got a COGS district, but yes, of course we can do that. I think it's really. Yeah, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. I can see some questions there that sort of tie into what you're saying, but I'll wait for you to go through them organically.
Cool. Next one. You said COGS recreate. RFOX would not create more COGS?
Yeah, I'll take this one. So the thing
Yeah,
is, that whatever COGS that okay, so the basis of me answering this question is that there is a DAO, right? So the DAO will create it or suggest a collection and vote on it and all that. It will still be created under the COGS official, so that would mean that we would be creating the assets and all that. But maybe stuff like the art assets and all that, we could work out something that we do work out with whoever that is. If it's a partnership, then we can work out with the partners and all that, and bring that project to fruition.
Alrighties. What about allowing an NFT to mint on ERC20 token? Has an example that would be backed by the NFT and use the ERC20 token to vote in the DAO.
I don't even know where to begin with that one, Pete.
Yeah, I also don't know. I mean, what the thing of the question, but the thing is, it seems like the COGS NFT is allowed to mint an ERC20 token, which leads to me to understand that there's going to be a COGS governance token, which is an ERC20 token on the E side. And then that will be backed by the NFT induced ERC. Because the thing is, this is a cross-chain thing, right? This is going to be a cross-chain thing because COGS are on wax. So it's going to be pretty difficult to handle stuff cross-chain like this because that ERC20 token will not be backed by the NFT because it's on a different chain to begin with. There's no there's no direct interface between those two chains. So Lala, I think we can circle back to this question if clarified.
Alrighties. Okay, next one. Are there any concerns on the KOGs community being too small or lacking expertise to run such a DAO? Might need some proper hand handling in the start.
Yeah, I think most things start small. One thing that when we'd sort of look back at what people had suggested in the past and had a look at the research and all the rest of it, it was clear that if a DAO had started based on a collection or a group or whatever without an established IP or presence or whatever, it was a real grind for a lot of those. But for collections that had already existed, we're seeing some of the bigger ones that have sort of fallen off, obviously over the bear market. People have been are screaming for votes and they're saying do something. And I think part of what we're trying to do, because we're getting to that level of maturity from the product side of things now, is just have these open dialogue conversations and trying to make sure that we're considering feedback that we're given. And this is the great part about this call. If 99% of people say, we don't want that, you make the decisions, you do the marketing, you do all of that stuff, then it's very clear, isn't it? And it's good to get that feedback, and it's great to have these discussions because they're discussions that I'm sure that we've all had it in some conversation at some period of time.
Yeah, but at the same time, just to extend that a bit, Benny, at the same time, when a centralized team decides to do something like this, then we get the communities coming back and saying, oh, you guys shouldn't have done it this way. You guys should have done it another way, right?
Correct.
Where's the balance, right? So if you trust us 100% to go and keep the KOGs thing going, then why all the comments about we should have done this is a bad idea and all that, right? Because again, if it's centralized, then only the team is making decisions, right? Whereas if we're opening this up right now, and PJ's question is quite on point, right? Yes, there's you guys may not have, the community may not have expertise to run such a DAO, but we could transition this, like in a progressive way, like a slow thing, right? We don't have to go, hey, you guys handle everything. It's not that. I don't think that's the intention. And Benny, correct me if I'm wrong, right? But it's going to be something that's progressive, and then there's going to be a lot of hand-holding between us and the community itself.
100%. Just one. I want to jump forward to one because, Madame, I've only just read yours now, but I just want to address it the second I saw it, because sometimes you see something and you think, oh, actually, no. So you're saying, I kind of feel like this is RFOX distancing themselves from KOGs, like RFOX VFOX. No way. KOGs, what we're saying is, and I cannot reiterate this more, KOGs are such a special part of everything for us. And what we're saying is that we really want to see this thrive, and we really want to see it get the attention that it needs and deserves. And we're saying, you guys are always giving ideas, coming up with ideas, putting suggestions forward. And it is a catch-22, as we've seen this week. You sort of move ahead, you make decisions, you work on things, and we're saying, if we put this forward, but if we're giving you the impression that we're trying to distance ourselves, I have to jump on that immediately. That is not the case in the slightest, or at all. Not in the slightest. What we're saying is, very realistically, we understand if it doesn't. This is the opportunity. This is when the gamers, the new people to the space, are going to come in. We need to make sure that people discover and see KOGs during this run. That's exactly and the only thing that we're trying to say. Does that answer your question? I mean, your statement, Madame? Does that address it?
I said it in chat. It's purely
sorry.
based on timing, Benny. Like if we hadn't heard the news on Wednesday, there's no way I would have made that leap. So it's purely based on timing. That's why I'd mentioned that.
Yeah, but again, like I think the one thing that people don't see about Wednesday as well is that I think that the message that came across when we're trying to position ourselves, and I know this is about COGS, is that oh, we're washing our hands or whatever, or distancing. What we're saying is that we're getting to a point in the project as well where the product's good, and we're continuing to build, and we're building more and more stuff, and we want for that to be successful. You need users, you need people marketing, you need people working continually on building large communities. You need to get that traction. You need to get those people in. No one in the metaverse space has properly found product market fit yet, and I think that the one thing that we've always sucked at, but let's be honest, we've had this conversation a million times, is we're now at a point, I could say hand on heart, previously we haven't been good at marketing, and I could say that we also had stumbled or found difficulty in executing some of the build stuff because it's tricky in this space. But over the course of the last few years, we're getting much better at building now. Like it's actually our strong suit now. So we're getting to the point where we're happy with the production line, we're happy with the way we build, we're happy with the quality of the first iterations of things that are coming out. And what we're saying is that that's a maturity process you go through as a company as well, when you have to turn around and say, right, we understand that the nature of this industry and space as well is that you really need to have dedicated teams and groups of people marketing and getting attention and positioning yourself. So it's not, we're not trying to say, so what I'm trying to say, Madame, and I can't make you undo that. I'm saying I'm trying to undo that thought process from your head, because that is not the case, and I cannot more strongly say that. I said to Glenn just today, I can't wait for like I want to see that that real burgeoning excitement come back, but for a whole lot of wave of new users. Like I really want to see that. I want to see a ton of new people come in and discover COGS for the first time. Sorry, Lala.
Sure. I'll continue back to the question that I left off. I may have missed this, but if the COGS DAO is to be considered, will RFOX be putting cash towards a treasury for the DAO?
Sorry, can you please repeat that one?
No worries. I may have missed this, but if a COGS DAO is to be considered, will RFOX be putting cash towards a treasury for the DAO?
What we'd do is we were seeing it more like a governance thing, and we were saying it's up to you guys how you would what you would want to do in relation to kicking that off. There's tons of examples and models that we could have given you, but yeah, I think that just reading. Yeah, it is still all new. Sorry, I'm just trying to read the comments that are coming through as well. Yeah,
Madame questions, will RFOX be putting money towards the treasury for Light was given CX11 DAO? I think the treasury for CX11 DAO was given in the CX11 tokens, because that was the token that was driving the DAO. So I'm not sure what you mean by RFOX putting money towards the treasury. Madame, could you clarify that?
Oh, and CJ talked about you didn't suck at marketing when COGS first launched. So that's what we were saying, CJ. The thing is that that was, now that we're building stuff and we've got a bigger platform and we've got lots of pieces that have to be considered, there's a lot of stuff. Like we often complain that you know there's certain days of a week where you'd have up to 16 hours of meetings, and it's like you can't catch a break, you can't eat anything. You've got there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of meetings, and they're across a wide variety of builds, teams, marketing, partnerships, all of that type of stuff. It's like extremely busy. When we were first starting and we had all the plans drawn up and all the rest of it, COGS was like a real focal point to us for quite a period of time, and we put every inch of every resource that we had into just that. And it was more community building that made that marketing a success. And I think it's something that I would love to have 10 to 12 hours a day just to do community building and work on getting in there and doing that. But it's a time thing. And in this day and age, I think the market's changed a lot in the last few years as well. Nowadays, people say there's too many choices for me and I don't have time to do stuff, and they just follow their favorite influencer, or they have a particular channel that they follow. I know personally, being time poor, the only reason I ever buy something is if somebody I know or trust says to me, hey, grab this. And I go, okay. I don't even look at the website. I don't even look at what the thing does. I just go, okay. So I think the market's definitely moved and changed. And I like I said, I think I really miss that strong community and getting in there and building that up. It's bloody exciting. I look forward to doing that again. Sorry, Lara.
No worries. How does the COGS DAO hold leverage over RFOX if they decide to make changes to the vault?
How does a COGS DAO have leverage over
The vault if they decide to make changes to the vault? Sorry, my bad.
still hard to fully fathom.
You should say who that question is from, in all honesty. It gives context.
Gotcha.
Are they referring to building in the district, or are they referring to the vault? Because it's two very different spaces and very, very different questions.
That's what I'm confused about, mate. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I'm sorry.
Yep, that was from Satoshi. He can perhaps maybe elaborate a little bit more on that one. I'll just move on to the next one. The DAO can decide on how sets are done and how materials are allocated for COG staking.
Yes.
Yes.
Next one, can
Do
any
you know-
project...
Sorry, go.
Yep. The next one, can any project use COGS Mint Lab, or do they need permission through DAO? Also, any news on BAYC, COGS burn fee sales?
Yeah, so that's a good one. Like a couple of things. Mint Lab, I still think that has so much potential to do really well. And again, part of building a platform and offering tools to the public is then saying, all right, you get a few creators and developers in to use those tools, and people start talking about it and referring and all the rest of it. Mint Lab, when we sort of introduced it through Bored Ape Yacht Club and all the rest of it, was such a small fraction of what it can actually do, and what it was intended and set up to do. I still think it's an amazing opportunity, and I think that the COGS integration piece to that has huge potential. And I remember, Phil, you probably remember, we had lots of conversations about it in the beginning, and it was like started off with many questions and people in the team sort of saying, I don't really get it. What does this part do, or what does that part do? And I remember you, Phil, and I'm signaling you out here, sorry for that, but you sort of came back one day and said, oh, here's some ideas. I've got my head around it, and here's what we could potentially do. The limit to the possibilities is pretty endless for that. So I'd love to see that and many of the other tools that we've got start to get more utilised for sure. But again, going back to Madame, you're on a winner, Madame. I feel like opening up the mic to you and jump on voice. But one of the things that you're talking about is maybe just a council or whatever. See, this is the great part about opening things up and having these open dialogue conversations is you get to see some of those thought processes. One of the things, again, just to reiterate and to quell any dispersions or anything that might come up, I used COGs to propose to my wife, and it's firmly ingrained in so many of the stories that we have as a company. I would be furious if COGs doesn't sort of get the recognition and doesn't get center stage and doesn't get more partners and games and brands building with it through this next cycle of interest that comes in from the gaming and the users and the players' perspective. I really, really want to see it do well. It would be, out of everything, I would be gutted if that doesn't get back to its former glory. Gutted. Sorry, Lala?
Yep, sure. All right, next one. My expectations for that RFOX would be driving force behind marketing COGs as it has been in the past, and I was excited to see how the Orange move could help with that. Does the proposal to create a DAO mean that marketing is now a community responsibility, so RFOX doesn't need to put in the resources towards COGs anymore?
No. There's nothing to do with that. So, it's no, nothing to do with that. I don't even know how to answer that without.
Can I answer it, Benny?
Yeah, you can answer it. Go for it, mate.
I think that Red Fox Labs would be more than happy to stand behind the community's decisions and things like this. And it isn't as much of a matter of is it us or is it them? It's us together. Benny's providing the opportunity for us to help guide and direct it. Obviously, in the end of it all, the IP belongs to them. So they would have ultimate rule and authority. But I mean, this is what we've been asking for years, just a greater sense of community input into it. So I don't think it's a matter of one pushes the other out of the way. It would be, we're freeing up their time to build the vault. We help guide and direct COGs. And as long as we're being sane, rational adult people, COGs is going to stand behind our decision making.
Okay, so just to extend exactly what Hanford just said. So I'm going to give out a scenario, right? And I don't know, maybe Lala can do like a small thumbs up, thumbs down thing and all that. But I'm going to roll back a few years of last year or a few years ago and say because right now we've seen how certain sets did well, certain sets didn't do well, right? But if we were to go out and if we had this DAO back in the day and we put it up for vote to the community members who hold COGs and say that, hey, we're doing a set like IAPF, would the community have voted yes or no? Right.
That's exactly what I was asking before. Yeah.
At the same time, if we were to present, because in this case, we as RFOX were presenting it, right? Because it was our idea. But of course, the community could also present it. And so if RFOX presented like a Grim 1 type set and saying this is the mechanics, that we want to bake in, this is how we're going to get the Grim 1 packs by putting COGs. Again, would the community vote yes or no, right? On hindsight, if you look at it right now, Grimm's one was more successful than IPF, right? But if the community had voted no on any of those, then it wouldn't go up to market, right? So having this input, I think it's crucial. And you guys, I mean, the guys holding more calls will obviously have a heavier vote, right? We can figure out that voting thing, on what weight it is, but I think that's what we're trying to get there, right? And Hanford you just explained it pretty well. If the community proposes something that that they want, and RFOX will definitely be backing up on that, right? We'll back you up, we'll implement it, and then we'll push it out because we know that again that's what the community wants, right? And if the community proposes something that is totally outrageous and nobody votes on it, then why do it in the first place? Because you've already got shot down on the proposal stage. We don't have, as of right now, we don't have that right now because it's a centralized team, right? And my small COGs team, we go in and we decide, okay, we want to do this, right? We want to do this, we want to do this. And yes, there are overlaps with like vaults and all that. So we'll say, hey, we want to do pets for vault and all that. But, just imagine if you've got input, you can vote, you can propose new things. And even to the point of, say, if you want to really want to propose the whole COGS X Volkswagen thing, I think that'll be a cool thing to do, right? Go out to the community, let them figure out if they want it or not. Adelaide might want it, but no one else might want it, right? So in that case, the vote will turn out to be a no.
All right. Next one. Does Cox have a more direct line to Vault than Orange?
So just to be clear on that, the Vault is, think of it this way, the Vault is an app. The APIs and SDKs that we produce would be tools and instructions. Orange would be a technology layer and application that we use in our ecosystem. So COGs are a collection and a brand. So again, that's another difficult question to ask outside of just explaining what those things are. Pete or Phil, you want to have a stab at that?
Well, I mean, just reading the question just like that, I would say that COGS is RFOX, Vault is RFOX, Orange is a separate thing, right? So definitely the COGS and the Vault team, we communicate all the time, right? Weekly, if not daily. So now it's just adding in that community input, right? And community proposals for voting and giving the community a voice. That wouldn't change.
I feel like there's a fear that like we would no longer, or RFOX would no longer be proposing our own ideas, like that we would leave it all up to the community. I don't think that's true because there's a ton of COG ideas we have internally, but now you guys could help us refine those ideas because we'd be asking you before we even bother, developing the concept further.
Yeah, and that's why talking about the IP, you'd still obviously have actual official COGS editions like straight COGS. That would obviously be RFOX. It wouldn't be in any way a handoff of responsibilities or marketing or anything like that. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading that stuff. Can we Burton third edition might take only a match due to the size of the edition.
All right. I'm just going to move on to the next one. I personally think this is a bad idea. If a token is needed for voting on things, why can't assets just be used? What makes you think the community has time to spend on this, especially long term? Like everything, it's all fun when it's new and exciting, but when the grind comes, the voluntary community help will drop off. What benefits or rewards is there for people to participate long term?
Yeah, it's a good question, Adelaide. And I think, again, I'll go back to the example if I use Treasure DAO, like the amount of work that's gone into that, the amount of effort that's gone into that, the amount of times that they've pivoted, changed, pissed people off, completely changed their model, completely changed the structure. The one thing that I'll give them is that the tremendous amount of effort that went in there. They burned through tons of followers, loyal followers, communities, and all the rest of it. But what they did was they pivoted and moved in a direction that, again, would have been exhausting, but they stuck true to what their overall outcome or vision was and they wanted, and they pulled it off, and they did it in such a way that it's exceeded their own expectations and gone over and beyond. But the group that they started with, I don't think any or many of those people are still around. It's evolved. It's chewed through a lot of different people, but like what I'm doing is I'm helping make your point for you. And again, what we did as a team is didn't sit down and say, hey, let's put a defined structure together, go out, tell people that this thing's exactly happening, and this is why and how and all the rest of it. What we wanted to do was have, and that's why I said to you at the beginning, a casual chat, float the idea and sort of say, this is something that you've suggested multiple times in the past. It kind of actually makes me happy that you're honest enough to say, I think it would be too much work and we don't have the experience to do that. That's kind of I like the fact that you're honest enough to say that.
All right. That being said, we actually have quite a number of questions left, but I think due to time, Ben, do you wanna sift through the questions you really want to touch on, and then we can wrap it up from there.
And Pete, you can Pete or Phil, you can do the same. I think that obviously this is a great conversation. I'm extremely happy with the way that that's gone, and it's good that you've. I think again, even some of the most staunch supporters of COGs have said it would be good to just sometimes get on a call and talk about. And I know Pete does the Degen Hours, and I know you guys go back and forwards and talk all the time. What we don't want to do is be in a situation or going forwards where, like Pete just said, it's a small team of people making every decision that might not work or be the right decision. We want that participation, and the fact that you've all rocked up tonight in droves as well is testimony to the fact that you do care what happens and you do take an active interest, and that's what we want to continue. We want to make sure that is the case. And the thing is that sometimes, like Pete said, a lot of people have asked, give us a voice, let us be heard. We've got some great suggestions and we've got some great ideas. It's not as easy as people might think, and then it's not as easy to execute as people might think as well. There's a lot of people that also say, don't give me a voice. I don't want to have any ideas. Just make me money, get stuff done, get stuff built, get stuff put out. I think that the way for this to work, we've been on such a long journey together. It's extremely important that you have feedback and input. You can't be trusted, Degen. Actually, I won't say who or what, but the first thing that that was said to me when we were talking about this is, that you always run that risk, especially if it's an early community and you guys haven't been around for a long time, of people just saying, hey, let's make a token and just reward ourselves, staking rewards all in the first week and all the rest of it. I think we've reached a maturity level where we all want to see that do well, and that wouldn't be the case. And so, I cannot thank you enough for having that open dialogue conversation and giving us your impression and your feelings and all the rest of it. Pete, you want to add anything, or Phil?
No, nothing to add, but I'll stay on because I think there's other questions that needs to be answered. I'll try to answer. I know we run out of time, but I'll stay on for a bit. I'll probably answer in chat.
Yep. Okay. So there's some good ideas that have been floated tonight as well. Like people have said, maybe a council for stuff, maybe a decision. Yeah, it went way too quick, Hanford. we've got we used to have these types of calls very, very regularly, and like I say, it would be nice to have them more. But can I just leave on Madame's point? I know I've driven it home and I've made it really clear. Madame, what I'm saying to you is, I think this is our cycle and our opportunity to get COGs to the wider audience, and I will forever rue that opportunity if it is missed or not exacted on or not utilized to its full potential. So I really, really, really want to see that happen. Yeah, it was the last marketing team that cancelled the Friday one, and I think you fired them. Can't we make it Fridays again? It's actually a good way to start the weekend. I haven't been on a Friday call with you guys for ages, and it is good to talk to you. So, look, thank you very much for your time. I know some of you are going to stay around. We've had a pretty long day. I'm going to duck off, but have a fantastic night, and keep the suggestions coming. And we do definitely, Michael will tell you as well, we do think about what you put forward a lot. And I want to be very honest with you, because some people get pissed off sometimes that we don't listen enough. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes we have so many suggestions that it's hard to filter through them all. Sometimes we look at stuff and say, that's going to take a year. Other times we look at things and say, I don't even know where you'd begin with something like that, like with some of the questions. So it's really important we do listen, we do have the open dialogue, and your feedback is extremely important to us. So thank you very much for taking the time to come tonight, and I hope you have an awesome weekend. And thank you for your patience and tolerance this week as well. I think once we properly explain this, and if we did a COGS first edition style rollout to explain everything that's happening, you would be a lot more bullish and a lot more excited about what's about to happen. So again, thank you so much, guys. Have an awesome weekend.
Thanks, Benny.
Cheers, Benny.
Thanks, Benny. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye, Benny.
So
I'm
good,
excited.
Guys, I just need some time to, go through the whole chat, because I was answering questions, I was searching for questions, and I haven't caught up on chat yet. So just give me 5 minutes. Let me run through chat. I think I'm like 40 minutes behind in chat, right? So I'm trying to answer some of these questions as I see them, and I have answered them in chat. So yeah, apologize if I don't say it out loud, but just read it in chat, and let me go through all that. And once I caught up, then we can have a discussion. Just give me 5 minutes and let me run through this whole stack, okay?
If you guys read that kind of long post I put on about this, I think I think it's an awesome idea for those reasons. I mean, how many of us have been around so much? What if we could have been putting a lot of our time that we are more than willing to dedicate to this community towards progressing it, because we have some power to do that in a context? Like I said, a lot of us have connections we could probably propose and bring forward that we could expedite a lot quicker than RFOX can, trying to create a partnership with other people because they've got their hands in so many things right now. I'd rather see RFOX have more of their time, effort, and energy freed up to progress the vault so that it becomes something that is profitable quicker, because if we're tied into it, when the water level rises, all ships float higher. This could help elevate COGS, if they had more time. And then with what we're doing to make it progress, it's exponential. It's like the understanding of this. One horse on average can pull 2,500 pounds, but two horses put in tandem on average can pull 12,000 pounds. And it's, that principle of exponential growth applies in all things, especially when you count time, because time is one of the true things that's finite. I hope that makes sense to people. I mean, I'd gladly give an hour or two a day to help progress COGS forward. I love them. I've been here for almost 4 years now. As a lot of you, and I know a lot of you still have passion for it. And even if some of you could only do 10 minutes a day, but you could do it 6 days out of the week, well, there's an extra hour. And, I mean, that just starts adding up. Ideas, proposals, connections, possibilities, even as far as developing technology with, like, how Gecko was able to go from being a community member to working for RFOX because he had skills as an architect. How many of us have skills that we can bring to the table where if we had a DAO with a little bit more control, we could contribute that time, effort, and energy to propel things forward at a faster pace? Just saying, this is my personal idea. There's a lot of people here with a lot of passion. I think we could combine everything and make it do better. And the whole point of it all is to make money and to have fun and to have community and to enjoy life as we're doing it. So, but obviously, almost all of us were here for making money. I mean, I'm old school gamer, and all the money I've wasted on video games in my life, which I know exceeds $200,000, because I spend a stupid amount of money on mobile games and stuff, and I owned a video game store for a while, and it's like, well, give me ownership rights to this stuff, man. Especially considering how exponential the growth is in the gaming sector globally. I mean, I've watched it go from being, Atari 64, Commodore 64, the old Magnavox Odyssey systems, and then Nintendo, and it went from being, a small $1 million business to now it's like 250 billion annually gross sales worldwide. It's like, I want a chunk of that, damn it. So, money. Let's be the ones who actually figure out how play to earn works and is sustainable and isn't some Ponzi scheme or pyramid scheme. There's got to be a way, because look at all of the money that's lining all the pockets of Rockstar Games, Epic Games, all of them, all those microtransactions, everything. It's like there is a very large pie, and we just need a sliver of it, and we'll all be happy. Our whole community will be happy. Okay, I got a little bit high, so I'm getting off my soapbox now.
You make valid points, Hanford, but I don't know about you, but I can only speak for myself. I love COGs, I really do, but my enthusiasm for creating a DAO is next to nil. I think I would much rather be part of an advisory board rather than all the stuff that goes with a DAO.
Well, that's the beauty of a DAO, is if we had enough people that were willing to put it in, all you would have to do is leverage your voting power behind people you trust and believe in so that they'll guide it in the way you want it. I understand your reason for just wanting an advisory council, but that does not increase the natural resources that RFOX would have at their disposal to proceed it and get it to progress further. I mean, RFOX can only do so much. There's only so much money, so much time, effort, energy. I mean, I'd be willing to bet a shit ton of money that Pete has put a lot of his own personal time. He's probably salary man and all that, but how many times do you think he stayed up late at night trying to figure out problems, solve things, get things done? That was actually his time that he was putting into everything, as an example, and that isn't, I'm not, it's, we have resources that
A
could
lot.
be
The
net
answer is a lot,
positive
but
more than just opinion. Opinion is fine and dandy. And if nothing else happens, I hope that the community does get that at a bare minimum. I agree with you 100%, madame. But what that does not do is add to the resources. And if the community members, or certain groups are willing to, and they get the voting power, that's nothing but net positive for COGS, as long as they're not stupid, do something unlawful, break some laws, or cause liability to RFOX that gets them sued, or, ruins reputation, or those things, which you wouldn't get if you have people who are truly concerned about the project, So, and being given resources, like Pete already confirmed that, like, if we voted, hey, we want COG Slam, and the community votes on it, and we're going to figure out a way, time, effort, and energy, RFOX backs us up with technology and resources to get the technology side done. You know, as long as we're not asking for something that costs $1 billion to make or something stupid, because obviously this is all about everything doing well. You know, we'll come up with ideas on how COGS can progress quicker, better, utilizing the vault just because of sheer brain power alone. And yeah, we can get that with with just being an advisory council of some type or whatnot, but it does not contribute to the resources that get it done. You know, and us just tweeting things is one example. You know, if the DAO decided something and everybody in the KOGs community just started bombarding Twitter with all of it, we would get more. You know, we do a lot to retweet and try and get eyes on it and stuff like that. But, you know, there's a lot of advantages to the increase in resources.
Does anybody else want to speak up?
I'm still keep catching up on chat. Like you guys.
Seriously, we need to talk about this. We've been asking for this conversation for years. You know,
Yeah.
let's
Okay,
have this conversation.
And anyways, I'm at 10:08 right now. It's 10:27, so I'm about 20 minutes behind. So yeah, Hanford can continue talking. I'm still listening, but I'm also just wishing through this real quick and answering what quick questions I could in chat.
Well, and here's the thing. What if we did come up with the idea that started propelling COGS and making us all a little bit better revenue in some capacity? Imagine whatever you will. You know, that answers CJ's questions and other people's comments about DAOs. Why would people want to stick around? Because we're making money, because we figure it out. Or that carrot on a stick is in front of us. I have time to spend. As an example, I'm only speaking for myself. I would gladly contribute an hour or 2 hours every single day towards this as though it was a job, because I'm investing my time and my investments to make me more money. It's the same reason that right now I am paying myself to rebuild this house that I bought. I got it for a really good price, and I know that all the time, effort, and energy and materials I buy, because I have out-of-pocket costs in rebuilding this house, when I'm done, the value will be higher than what I paid into it. That would be the whole point of this DAO, in my opinion, is that we've already put some resource materials into it. If now all we have to kind of do is contribute time, you're investing in your investments. And as long as we're not stupid, we should see a return out of that. If nothing else, we should see a return quicker than if we leave it purely in Red Fox's hands, because we do have a shit ton of great ideas. Everybody in this community has had one phenomenal idea or multiple at least once. You know, I mean, we might have an idiot or two that never had one good idea, but there aren't too many of those. Let's be honest. I mean, we're a great community. There's a lot of passion here. There's a lot of intelligence here. There's a lot of experience. There's a lot of skill. Why not pool all of that together as a community to propel this forward, to try and help make it what we've always envisioned it to be, and what we kind of feel entitled to in a certain extent, because we put the money in, we put the time in, we've stuck around, we haven't lost faith, we haven't lost hope. Yeah, we have our moments. Ain't nobody gonna lie about that. You know, nothing's absolute. But I mean, look at a test. Every single week, new videos on YouTube, purely out of his own time. God bless the man. He has done so much for this community. You know, uh, that's a lot of resources. I mean, you add all of that up, it's like now a DAO, a community coming together and banding all those resources, and we could actually make this something big, in my opinion. And that's with just as much faith in this community as it is the product that we're all talking about.
Bloody hell, Hanford, you've came screaming and kicking into the brand ambassador role again.
Well, when I left last time, I left it open-ended because
I just gave him the whole brand this morning. Like it's not even 12 hours yet.
Yeah, I got it like an hour or two before I went to bed last night, and I still had it when I woke up. So you know,
I feel like this is an election. You're selling it.
No,
personally
I
think I
well,
personally think this needs to be a vote out to the COGS crowd. It can't be made made now because people need time to digest it.
No. So, madam, this is not something that we're going to be doing now. The call today was more to let you guys know that this is where we think we're going, and this is where we wanna try to get the input from the community, because you guys have been asking us a lot, right? And let me you're one of them, also more vocal ones. Maybe not vocal in chat, but vocal in DMs and all that, like stuff
Vocal
that when
to
we
you.
release stupid stuff, and and you go like, what the fuck is this shit, right? A lot of people have done that, right? Whether it's in chat or directly to me, like, what the fuck is this shit? Who's gonna buy this shit? No one's gonna buy this shit. And then,
I was right, didn't it? CPAC, I was right.
Right on the dot, after the sale, no one bought that shit, right? And the thing is, that was what a centralized group of people did it, right? And right now, I mean, within RFOX itself, there's nothing that goes on with COGS that I do not give a go ahead. If I say no, and yes, there are a lot of ideas. We've got like an Excel sheet with ideas. Most of them come from our team members, right? Because we're centralized, right? And some of them, of course, I put the list that I've been collecting for ages, right? Being part of the community, hearing people's discussions, like XP's idea of having that truck collection, right? Heavy machinery collection. I think that's also in that Excel file as one of the line items, right? But there's also new people that come into the company that says, hey, I have this cool idea of COGS. Can we do this? And then some of the ideas, yes, we talk about it. A lot of ideas, I explain them, and I'm not shooting them down directly, but what I do is I explain to them, says, this idea, we need to work on it more because of this reasons. They do not have that breadth of knowledge that a lot of you guys have, because you guys have been with us since day one, right? There's a lot of ideas that come out of nowhere and says, hey, we should do this, we should do this, we should do this. This would definitely sell, right? And and some of these ideas come from what do you call this? The experience that they've got maybe in their specific country, right? I mean, we're a diverse group of people, right? People from all over different countries, right? And somebody from Vietnam may suggest something like, okay, we should do this type of thing. I'm like, okay, that doesn't really work. I mean, like, how would it? Would something like this work in Vietnam? Just yes, there's many successful cases where this works. But then I say that, yeah, but the community is not from Vietnam, and I don't know how this works, and like, I can just tell them outright, like, to me, I don't think it'll work. I wouldn't buy that, right? And then they're like, oh, okay. And of course, I do not speak on behalf of the whole community. Maybe you guys might think that is a good idea, right? It's just me that thinks it's a bad idea, right? But because I said, they kind of have like a respect for me, like, hey, this guy comes from the community. And I think Micah has that sort of respect as well, even though he started off, not as an OG, but from the second edition. But compared to them, Micah has, a bit more, right? And then Lala came in later, right? And then everyone knows what Phil is famous for, small cogs.
Yep.
Just because he has a small cog.
Oh my lord! What am I listening on a Friday night?
It's
Degen Hour, anything goes.
HR.
Sorry.
I'm so innocent. Stop it. Okay, bye.
Hey, Phil still thought they were
madam,
big, you guys. So just
I
saying.
can't even
that was
argue.
something like that. So I can assure you, madam, that whatever that we did all in, assuming that we had this, right? Like, let's not call it a DAO, right? Let's not call it a DAO. Because, the term DAO, means certain things. And I think that's where the mindset of somebody like you, right? Madam, when you think of DAO, and I think when China mentions DAO, you guys are really thinking in the concept of a true DAO, right? A fully decentralized organization. Let's not start it as that first. Let's just start it. Let's start it a bit slower, and let's say, hey, what if? And right now it's centralized, right? We've got an idea in the works right now. What if before we build on that idea, develop the contract for that, and blah blah blah, present it to you guys, and then you guys tell us whether it's a good idea or it's shit.
That's what we've been talking about for years, Pete. Me and you.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But this is the one that, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I have listened to a lot of your feedback. Not when I say you're not you, Madam, but the community's feedback, right? And I've replied to some of yours as well. And some of the community's ideas were made into eventual products, right? Eventual, sets of mechanics, right? And that's because whatever that I've been collecting, I've been just putting it in that list, right? Some of them don't make sense. Some of them make sense, but we didn't have the tech to do it yet because we didn't have the contracts and all that. We got to put in, we have to put in our process to actually start building that, right? So, which is why, like, as we built some of our mechanics, we built it bit by bit, right? We didn't do like, okay, I think, Lala, can we share about that pets thing? Okay, pets are coming, right? Pets are coming.
We know
Lala
pets are coming, yeah.
Yeah. So the crafting for pets started off with that idea, right? We got to craft pets for Vault. Vault's not ready to implement pets yet, right? But we got to work towards that, right? So it says, okay, we want to have pets in the Vault. We want to have dragons in the Vault, and then we want to start it off with the cogs, right? The Vault team just and I remember this conversation I had with Micah eons ago. Like, Pete, there's no freaking way we can do that, right? We're not even close. He says, okay, tell me how long we need. Oh, we need, I don't remember the conversation exactly, but I just throw it out. It says, oh, we need 6 months to build the underlying, infra, build it on top layers by layers. We did this first, we need this first, we need this first. So, okay, fine. Then we can work backwards from that, right? So what do I need for to have that whole journey to COGS, right? And then I'll talk to Allah, blah blah blah, and then we did the whole thing, like, okay, let's do this. We have to start the COGS, and then we have queued them up. This is what can we do after that? Oh, we stake them up, and then we introduce this thing. I think at the time, Phil and I were discussing about dragon eggs, right? It says, oh, we can do this to spawn a dragon egg, then you incubate the egg and all that. But we never did that, right? That could have been an awesome idea, but we never did that because we never reached out to you guys. It's like, this is too complicated, right? It's going to be pain in the ass from a contract perspective. And then, so the thing is, just also whatever that you guys propose to us, some of the things that you guys propose is awesome as heck, but we cannot do that because we haven't built anything yet, right? And maybe that build might take 3 months. So we have to start, slotting in and says, okay, what can we slot? Look at priorities, blah, blah, blah. And then we can do it. A few of you guys asked questions about, will we help with the tech and development and all that? Hell yeah, right? If you guys want to, do something that we don't have capability of, I mean, you guys know what our capabilities are right now because you've seen all the mechanics. There's some mechanics that we've not released yet, but we've built it and we've got those in place. But if you guys got an idea or a proposal, that can come in, and then we could see that, hey, we already have a contract for that, or use the contract and work on top of it, enhance the contract to have that feature functionality.
Okay, Pete. So what is the next step? So what are you asking?
Or after today? Or?
Yeah. So this is you've said that this is the announcement.
This is the first step. No, this is not an announcement. This is more reaching out the community and putting out feelers out there. Do you guys like this idea? Do you guys don't like this idea? If everyone says no, we don't like this idea, then we don't do it, and then it will still come back to centralized team where me and my team work on stuff, and then we might be putting out something that you guys don't like. But then again, if we do that, that's no different than IAPF, right?
Yeah, so what's the next step? So are you going to be, I don't know, setting up a vote, like a simple voting system, like on Discord saying yay or nay, or is it going to be?
Yeah, we don't have that right now. I mean, I have to figure out where we want to, because if we want to use KOGs as a voting system, and again, just purely, I mean, myself and Benny have had multiple calls about this, and I'm pretty sure Benny also has multiple calls about this with King of KOGs and also with Phil, because I also know that I've had multiple calls with Phil. So we've got calls as a group, we've got calls separately and all that, and we've looked at different scenarios, right? In a traditional scenario, DAO, we've got a governance token, right? And that was what the example I used earlier. But it seems like a lot of people don't like it. My other proposal, if we want to have a DAO, is, and this was something that Benny liked as well, was use KOGs, right? You hold KOGs, that's your vote, right? If you sell all your KOGs, then you got less votes. So we could start with that. But the thing is, we also need to figure out a fair way as well to try to separate the votes. I think, can't remember who posted it. One of you guys posted it, that would additions have a weight, right? Would first additions fall a heavier weight in terms of voting? I want to say so, yes, because Micah doesn't have any, and I've got a lot, right? And then we also have to look at tubes, right?
Which came first, the chicken or the egg? I mean, we need a DAO to create the DAO. This is, I mean, we're gonna all be talking and voting on how to create the thing we have to talk and vote about. It's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? I mean, in a sense, we're almost practically in one. What RFOX has just done is say, now we're gonna give you a little power to do something about what y'all come up with, which we didn't have before. So I think we're just in chat stage. I mean, this is a community thing. It sounded like what Benny was saying. And if we don't want a DAO, there is no DAO, like he said. So if they aren't trying to push this out quick and nothing like that, we've probably got a good 3 months till the migration and all of that to truly figure things out, and even 6 or 9 if we want. But we shouldn't drag the ball, because we're heading into a bull and we can, capitalize on that. But it sounds like discussion phase is just going on, and we need to, as a community, still come together with reasonable and good ideas that most people aren't going to complain is unfair, so that the team can implement it.
So okay.
So what we need is the good hard questions right now, so we can get past all of those.
Let me ask you a question,
want you to answer some questions.
Oh, I'm still catching up in chat because we're talking here, right?
Yeah, sorry.
But okay, let me ask you one question. Let me ask you one question first, and then while you're answering me, let me scroll down because I'm like, now I'm 30 minutes behind chat because I'm not looking at chat. Let me ask you a question, Madam. As a long-time holder of KOGs, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we set up a voting system, and I'm assuming I'll be coding the system, coding the thing, right? Because let's face it, like you don't have the skills to do so, right? I'm not belittling you or anything like that.
No, I have
I'm just
no
saying,
idea how to do that.
You don't have any idea to do that. I have some skills. I'll probably figure this out, right? But building something like this voting system, everything starts with a requirement, right? So who comes up with the requirements? I can come up with a requirement, but again, if it's centralized, if I'm coming up with a requirement, I'll come up with a requirement that benefits me, right? And I'm speaking myself as an individual entity, not RFOX, right? So I'm going to say one KOG, one vote, right? And I've got 28,000 KOGs, right? And then I want to add in tubes as well because I got a lot of tubes. So all the stuff inside the tubes is considered a single entity as well, right? So which means tubes are not votes, but the stuff inside the tubes are votes. So if you got one tube, they don't stand for one vote, but they stand for 12 votes. For example, my scuba diver, right? But it still comes down to that requirements, right? So who comes down to the requirements? If I ask you to come up with a requirement, your requirements probably different, right? And I think you wrote it in chat, like,
A tier system.
1 to 250 KOGs
Yes,
equals one
a
vote.
tier system, yeah.
And then, so every 250 KOGs, you get one vote, right?
That was an example, but yeah.
As an example. But we still have to agree to that, right? So who agrees to it? Is it just me? Is it just me and you? So hey, madam, let's get into DMs and figure this shit. Or is it
No,
going to be
no.
the
I
whole
mean,
community?
I don't think you have to overcomplicate it like that, to be honest. I think, I don't know, a simple chat set up and say, these are ideas brought by the community. Whoever vote, whatever the highest vote is what we'll go with. Then it's community driven then. I don't think you need to overcomplicate it so much.
But okay,
I personally think.
They need to.
No,
They need to
but one
give
of the
some
things.
power to it, though. Otherwise, like what I was saying before, I mean, we can direct this, which at the bare minimum, like I was saying, we should do. We should have a little community input, like you're saying. But what Benny and them are offering us is power. The power to get it
I
going
get that,
forward
Hanford, but
quicker than.
before you can go down that path, though, you need to see whether or not the community wants it, right? So that's what
Correct.
Keith's talking about. How do we make that decision about who gets to vote? And I don't think we need to overcomplicate it, to be honest. I think it can be a simple, I don't know, we've got KOGs law or whatever, a simple chat where everybody puts their ideas, it gets consolidated, and then we all vote on it. From that point onwards, we use that as the marker to determine who can then vote based on those criteria. And the question is then put out. I don't know if it's one question, two questions, I don't know, but I don't think we need to overcomplicate it.
No, and I'm happy to be a person that can help write stuff into what is a more structured way of presenting information. Collect a shitload of people's random thoughts, compile it into something structured that can actually be voted on in the first place. I mean, that's a set of skills I have that I can offer.
Yeah,
Well,
As
I
a
think
community
that would
member,
be
that's
that
what
would
we
be
need rather
Echo
than
doing it in his own time. It is not
yes,
an
not
RFOX
RFOX
team.
related at all. That's me as a community member, my after hours, my time, my contribution to us as fellow coggers.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I don't think it needs to be super overcomplicated.
Oh, I agree with you.
Um,
In the beginning, this
yeah.
should be simple and just nice, easy, general conversations where we can hash out ideas that are good, bad, or otherwise, and But I think not rushing too quick, but giving time so that people can really wrap minds around it, so that we have those smart questions of, hey, how would this be impacted by this if we do go that way? Those types of things. So, but like you say, it shouldn't be overcomplicated. We should be able to come up with something here relatively quick. It's how the basic question is how much power and responsibility do we want to take on as a community is the main question here. Because is it as simple and basic as an advisory role, or do we want to have the reins in our hands where we're making like the big decisions? We're coming up with the decisions and implementing them, and all we're doing is a final pass through with RFOX to make sure it's all legal, legit, doesn't complicate something else they got going on, or interfere or negate or anything like that. Because obviously Red Fox has still got a lot of things going on behind the scenes that we're not aware of, probably won't be made aware of until it can be announced or be told. So, we're going to run into some small roadblocks if we get power, but it's how much power and authority do we want over this project as a community is the bottom line question, basically. Do we really want none other than our opinions being heard? Or do we want full control, or somewhere in between? That's how it sounds to me. Do we want the accountability and responsibility that comes with the power and authority? Because those go hand in hand.
Yeah. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. Don't overcomplicate it. Let's see what the
Oh
community
no,
feels like.
no.
That's it.
These are the exact same. These are the questions we need to have asked and answered, Madame.
Yeah.
Don't apologize for nothing. These are exactly the conversations we need to be having, in my opinion. You know, because we as a community should determine the weight and value of what determines voting power in the community, because we are the community.
Yeah.
You know, and people who aren't here when this is all being discussed because they're doing their own thing, got their own lives, well, they're not as vested. You know, we're here with our time, we're more vested. Dollars be damned. You know, it's easy to throw money at it, but when you're putting your life into it with your time, because time's a finite resource more than money, that weighs more to me. You know, people who come into this community ain't never hardly been here and act like everybody owes them everything. Those people piss me off. You know, and you can see that in some of my reactions before I became a brand ambassador again.
Oh, I noticed. I noticed.
It's you know, it's like, where you been? You know, I've been here. I think my voice should have a little bit more weight, just like I think yours should, Madame, and anybody else. And I'm not talking for those who verbally talk, you know, but people who are here, we're vested and invested, you know. So I like the idea of having more power and authority over the project, but also bearing the burden of the responsibility and accountability, because we could fuck shit up. That's something that could easily happen if we have the power and authority and control. But we could also make it do a lot better. And I'm optimistic. We got some smart people in here. We got some skills. We got some talents. So
8. You need to answer. Artes is getting pissed off now.
Yeah, okay, so what is KOGs now, according to RFOX, company RFOX not allowed to do? You definitely have, you're not allowed to do unlawful things, right, obviously, because again, it still comes back to, you know, we own a collection, we own an IP, so, you know, whatever proposed, we would eventually still need to come to a consensus, right? If you guys really think that doing something unlawful is okay and you vote that in, then I think there's a fundamental flaw in that system, right? Would RFOX support the cow with programming and technology if we came up with an idea that requires some build rated? Yes, for sure. And that's what we've been doing right now. It's just a centralized group, right? But if you think, you know, if you think that there's new mechanics that we could introduce that would help the whole COGS ecosystem, yeah, for sure. And how would the COGS treasury be first?
Sorry, before you move on to number 2, I just want to, for number 1, something else the DAO will not be allowed to do is ever talk about the first 25.
100%. That's the first rule of the DAO.
And one of the requirements of the DAO will be to vote in burning the first 25.
100%.
That's technically not doable.
yeah, it is. All we have
They
to do
will
is
just burn
bribe
the owner of
Sunrise.
the first 25. Either way.
That's
All we got to do
doable.
is bribe Sunrise. We can get access to them.
So, so last question is, how would the COGS DAO treasury be first set up to work? You can pay for labor for work done in progress COGS. Would COGS secondary market fee fund the DAO and how much? Well, the thing is, if we're talking about true sense of DAO, then yes, we need to set up some form of treasury, but that would also require a DAO token. If we're not setting up a DAO, in case that you guys don't need DAO tokens, then what treasury are we talking about?
I have the answer to this.
As
Because
I
it's already
answered in
been
the second one, right? The programming and tech can be built by RFOX, right? We can build stuff for the vault, for our backend and all that. So when you say labor, what do you mean? You mean the DAO, the people giving the ideas to them? I don't think so, right? Because we're not setting up a DAO in the DAO sense, I guess. But yeah, go ahead, Alfred, if you have a better
Well,
idea, better answer than me.
if Red Fox Labs, which you guys said yes to the question when I asked it, are willing to hand over your inventory of cogs and related materials, that's the treasury for the DAO. or whatever we're going to call this thing. DAO, I'm just saying as a general, like the cow. Let's call it the cow, because it's not a true DAO, because we don't want to be independent from Red Fox. We want their backing. We want their approval. We want their blessing. We want their integration. We want their cooperation.
What does COW stand for? KOGs Automated
Autonomous
Organization? What?
Yeah.
What's
Because we
autonomous
have
about
authority,
this?
we have responsibility, but it's not a final authority. It's not a KFOA. It's just a KOA.
So it's KOGs Authority Organization? Because it's DAO is that distributed autonomous.
It's a KOGs approved.
KOGs Organized Authority. Because
That's
Benny's
a
going to be a
KOA.
part of it.
That's
You're
a
going to be a
KOA.
part
That's
of it.
KOA. That's KOA.
Okay.
So is it
Still
KOA?
on arrival.
It's a KOGers approved operation.
Hey, if
There you go.
it's KOA, then might as well make it KOA LA, right? Something to land down under.
But I'm going back to the question, if it sounds like everybody wants the COGs to be the determining factor of your voting power, not a token. Fuck a token. That's only going to complicate things and make things messy and stupid.
Okay,
so
that's
if
good.
COGs are the voting power in some way,
Do
or
we vote on that?
well, yeah, I think we should vote on that as a community.
What do you
That should be
use to
one of the.
determine the voting weight, Pete?
Well, we'd
First
have to
edition
vote
COG.
on that.
Fuck
We
you.
have to vote on that. Yeah, we have to vote on everything.
So the point is, though, that it would be funded by that. I mean, because if every COG is a count, I'm sure the voting mechanism can recognize that this pack has this many COGs, and therefore is that many votes. The cow has funding and it has voting power right off the bat. I'm not sure exactly how much Red Fox is holding in all of their coffers, because I've never really looked or cared or whatnot.
Yeah, but it's in the basically you can look it up in the account.
Yeah. So I mean, there's the
Anything's
voting
in
power, there's the funding, there's the whatever that you want to call it. I mean, that satisfies quite a few things right off the bat. I mean, it gives us something to like have a bounty or have some kind of a competition. Oh, we got rewards to give out, which the winners of the rewards, in this whole function gain more voting power. People who want to have their voices heard are going to be acquiring more so that they have a bigger voting power or a larger voice. People are going to group together and pool their voting power, and we can actually even vote on making official groups and pools that people can add to or pull out the same way that you allocate when you're staking to different delegates and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of ways we can go with it, but funded by all of those boxes, cases, and packs. I'm sure they've got every single edition and every single type in their coffers. That gives us stuff to work with if we want to, engage more community, get people on board, the giveaways, those types of things. But every time they do give away, that cow would have a little bit less voting power as well. So you're dispersing that into the community more, the power. Unless we voted that they always have a certain percentage or something like that, no matter what the COG count is, because we will control the COG count at that point, or for the most part. I mean, Red Fox will still produce their own, like Benny said and Pete said. So there is that aspect.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, if we have this going on, then even whatever that we want to produce, it makes total sense to just run it through the cow to get input. Because if that thing is already up and running, what's the point of having us just make a centralized decision, right? So even if Pete's got this massive idea that is gonna change the whole ecosystem, just push it through, right? Saying, hey guys, this is it, right? And if it is truly an awesome idea, it's gonna get voted in, right? And or maybe we're gonna get input to make it better, right? I'm not gonna say that all my ideas in COGS have been good. Most of them are, not all.
Here's a question for you, Pete. say we do approve this and there's some kind of a cow going on, would that existence impact the way Red Fox does negotiations with other companies if it might involve COGS? Like the cow has to be involved so that they're not aware of some NDA to some extent. You see where I'm kind of getting at? That way we aren't blindsided by something you guys might do. Because like I'll throw a hypothetical out there. Let's say Apple comes along and says, we've been watching you guys and we want to do something with you, but you can't say anything until we announce it.
Correct.
Something like that is obviously going to majorly impact the cow. Would RFOX go, that's cool, we'll talk with you, but we have this thing over here that is a part of us and they have to be included to some extent, so because it's going to impact their decision making going forward? I know that's a
no, but fair. I mean, fair enough. But if say, and going back to your question, right? So if Apple wants to do, it may not affect the cow, right? It may not affect COGS. It might be for other things, right? But if it affects COGS, then yes. But the whole idea of having this cow to begin with is that we could have that partnership deals, like let's say if you want to do that IPF thing, like I mentioned earlier, it was something. It will be a much bigger, I would say, pool of people to look at it at the very least, rather than just one guy deciding that, okay, I'm just going to partner with this organization and throw out calls. And that could come from you guys as well, right? Like, say, the Washington thing, like Adelaide bugging me on that. Actually, Adelaide didn't bug me as much as Renee. But the cow would only affect cows, right? Don't you agree? Because we're not touching everything else, right?
Yeah, and I wasn't referring to an
if
NDA
Apple,
that
if Apple wanted to do something that with the new headset, right? What's the name of the headset? The Pro something?
the
Apple
Vision,
Pro?
isn't it called the Apple Vision?
Vision
Yeah.
Pro, yeah, Apple Vision Pro. Yeah. If they want to do something with that with RFOX, then obviously we'll be signing NDAs and all that, like first metaverse on the Apple Vision Pro and all that. That would be something that we probably cannot disclose to the cow, right?
Yeah, I wasn't referring to things that don't impact it. I'm saying, what if they came on board and they go, we've been watching you, and they're talking about all of Red Fox, and they want to have like the game with the tokens and the cogs, and with cogs quest and the possible cogs slam, and they want a full package where it is going to impact cogs in some way, or it generates a possibility or an idea that could impact cogs. I'm not obviously, if it has nothing to do with cogs, I ain't referring to that.
Okay, so
my
in that
analogy is
case,
there is some impact.
If that specific case, then you have to look at the NDA, and if they're really interested in the whole package, then they would.
Well, what
they
I'm
would have
asking
to be
is
told about.
what I'm asking is, would Red Fox, if you as Red Fox saw, like, somebody comes to you and you're like, okay, I can see how this might possibly impact cogs, and you recognize that. At
Yes.
that point, before the NDA is sent to you, that's when I'm asking if you bring it up and make them aware of it if they aren't, or if they haven't brought it up. Are we going to be taking into consideration?
If we have the cow thing, they definitely need to be aware of, right? That there's this thing that exists, right? There's this cow, right? The cow exists, obviously, right? But the NDA also could be very specific or whatever that work with us, but does it impact new stuff coming out from COGS? If it doesn't, if they just want to integrate COGS into games, then that would not be, again, it still comes down to what they want to do, right? If it's Washington that's coming to us, then obviously we have to make them aware that there's this cow thing that that might be voting
Well,
in
the main thing
and
I'm
all that.
thinking of is if somebody comes to you and say, we want to be a part of all of this and we want our own COGs, which would therefore increase the COGS supply, which is going to affect voting power across the board.
Okay, fair
That
enough.
affects the cow.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, if it's something as big as Apple, then I got no idea how, right? If it's a smaller thing, then maybe yes, we can get the cow involved, right? Say it's a small gaming company that comes approach us and say, hey, we want to do this and we want to introduce um, our own game and our own edition, then I think definitely we can involve it. But again, this cow, that if the cow involves everyone in the community, then how does that work then? Like, if everyone votes no, then are you saying that we're going to say no to the partnership, even though it brings?
No, I'm just curious if
Yeah,
the cow is
I
going
don't
to be
have an
taken
answer.
into consideration in your conversations with other companies as RFOX, if it impacts them. Not that it would impact whether or not you do something with them or anything like that, but if I'm just trying to foreshadow any kind of issue
Fair
where.
enough. Yeah, because I don't have an answer for that. Because of course, if it's something as big as Apple, then it's a whole different story, right?
Well, yeah, and my thought, Apple is a monster, obviously, and I use it
Yeah,
as an
obviously,
example.
yeah.
But what if John Deere came up to you and said, "Hey, we want to get into NFTs, and we want to have a little game made, and we want to be in the metaverse, and we want to have our own NFTs, and we like these COGs things, and whatever." And I just said that because I looked at my tractor. So it's like big name,
Okay.
well
Yeah,
recognized, but not an Apple or a Google or something,
correct.
And it's going to impact. I mean, because I'm thinking, well, I mean, and they want to have, a million cogs in their collection because they want to have some VR farming game type thing or whatever in the future, going off on it. But you know what I'm saying? Something where it's going to impact how the cow operates, if nothing alone by how the voting power then gets redistributed or gets spread out or changes or the landscape
Mhm.
modifies.
Okay. But
What do you
voting
guys,
change.
always take us into consideration or think of bringing us in and that kind of stuff? Or if a name
But the thing
comes
is,
along like that, you're going to be like, we want it, kind of don't care what the cow says, it's going to happen anyway. I mean, I could see you guys doing that with Apple, money's money.
true, exactly. Which is why
And we'd have to
I
be
say that
stupid.
I
We'd have to
don't
be
have an answer for that. But the thing is the cow consists of say a few individuals versus is it going to be the whole ecosystem? Are you saying that would a vote determine if we have the John Deere partnership or not versus having like a point person or something that says, hey, Hando, this is coming. And of course, if I said Hando, this is coming, you've obviously have an NDA, right? That you wouldn't have, you couldn't say that, right? Assuming if this whole cow thing is done, I'm pretty sure there's a relationship between the cow and RFOX, right?
Yeah.
But even then, if it was a certain group of people, let's say there's, I'm just going to throw an arbitrary number, right? If there's 8 people in this cow, right, and it's like Hando, Gralek, Madame, blah 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 blah, right? Then everyone signed an NDA. So even if we told you guys, hey, John Deere is coming, but does it still go to a vote? Because in that case, how would we play that out? I mean, I'm just throwing scenarios out here.
Well, it sounds like it would probably be good to have one or a couple of people in the cow that are part of the community that are not a part of Red Fox that could be given that information, because the community knows if that person said, we're going to table this for the time being and I can't tell you but we should not vote on this, or we should not go down this way, and the reason will become made apparent if it was either a single person or a small group that the community really trusted, especially like the people who are here right now, because we're obviously some of the most die-hard. Notwithstanding some people are probably working, can't be here, all that other stuff. But you know what I'm saying? If there was a group that the community had faith in, and as with all of these, you can have votes of confidence for the different people that are on this. If it was like a small board or a small group that was just this kind of middle ground to RFOX and the cow, so that they could prevent any negative decisions from being made that might affect value or trajectory or reputation or anything, or value or anything like that.
No, but
That would be a smart thing to do,
no, but
where it's like,
with regards to like the voting thing, right?
mhm,
You could say that the whole. Let's say if John Deere wants to make a million calls, and obviously it's going to be shifting the voting power, right? But
mhm,
as part of the negotiation, and I'm just just thinking out loud here, right? As part of the negotiations with John Deere, we can also say that, hey, we've got this thing called the cow going on, right? And if this, they may not be aware because this is a deal between John Deere and RFOX, then we could say that those cows may not have voted. And then we could tell you, the cow, that says, hey, we're doing a partnership, that involves a million new COGs coming into the ecosystem, but those COGs wouldn't have voting power. In that case, it would still be okay, right?
mhm. And
Because it
there's
wouldn't
other ways
diminish.
we could do it.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting way that popped in my brain. Okay, and I'm going to take your number because you said it. It's nice. Well, actually, it should probably be an odd number, so that you don't get
Okay.
stalemate, so to speak. But
Okay.
you could have it where each person, like let's hypothetical, every cog is a vote. Okay,
Yeah.
doesn't matter what it is. Let's just call it one cog is one vote. So
Correct.
I've got all this voting power. Okay,
Yeah.
and there's a new proposal, and there's 7 people that are on the committee, and every one of those people says how they're going to vote, and then I allocate my voting power to the one I agree with. So out of the 7, 4 are saying yes and 3 are saying no, and I'm like, well, I agree yes, so I put my voting power in either the yes pool or the people that are voting yes. Like, because sometimes it isn't as simple as a yes or no. Sometimes it's a 3-option choice or 4-option choice.
Correct.
But there should always be the option of none of the above, so that if enough people put all their votes in the none of the above as a community, it does not happen. Something along that line. That way,
No, no,
it's
wait. I don't understand the part where you say that 7 people first.
okay. Let's say there's
What do you
7
mean by that?
advisors that the community votes on to be the representatives of it. Okay,
Oh, okay.
it's like a committee. So
Okay.
that
So
way, if
there's
there's
7
more than a
people, right?
binary choice, it's like, let's say Madame's one of them. And it's like, well, I like the way Madame is thinking on this current proposal. I put my voting power into her, so that it goes that way. But you'd want to have multiple, because not everything is always just a yes or no. Some things can have multiple choices or multiple ideas.
No, no.
Like,
But
how
when you
are
say
we gonna?
you vote for Madame, what do you mean? So because let's say I'm not a guy, obviously, right?
Okay.
So if
Well,
I
you need a.
throw my,
Mhm.
I
Go
don't
ahead.
vote for the proposal. I vote for Madame. Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
Well, yeah, because that creates like that's that integration of the small group that is NDA, gets insider information but does not share it with the community type thing. Like it almost
Oh,
creates
okay.
you know what I'm
Oh,
saying? That
sorry.
way
In my head, it
Madame
was
is
a normal
saying,
proposal. You know.
yeah, I just think it would kind of work across the board, so to speak, because um y- the somebody has to propose the things other than just a flat out free for all with the community. Because if COGS grew and we have just a flat out proposal thing, it's like, how do you sift through a million proposals?
No. The proposals will be very specific, right?
Yeah, but who determines a proposal?
Anyone could submit, I
Separate
guess.
session in advance. 20 proposals. You select 5 of them, and those are getting voted. That's how I would do it.
So you usually in a certain DAO, you would need to say that, I mean, before the proposal goes to a vote, there must be interest in the proposal first. And I think there's a vote for interest. And I think usually like it's a small amount, like 20% vote, right? If everyone says, okay, I'm showing my votes, then says yes, this, then the proposal goes to a vote, and then the proposal has that 3 or 4 options or 2 options or whatever, right? It could be yes, no, it could be a, option 1, option 2, option 3, option 4, none of the above, that type thing. But I think there's always most proposals would need an interest, right? Because if there's no interest, then if no one gives a shit
I
about
don't
the
think you can
proposal,
vote for a person. You have to vote for the proposal. Right?
What I'm saying is the people become the people who are making the proposal or are behind it or whatnot willing to allow it to go on because, I guess I'm not explaining this concept well. I might need time to think about this so I can elaborate because in my brain it works and I don't know why I'm not explaining.
No. I mean, I'm not.
To be fair, I completely understand what Hamper's saying, and it makes sense.
I mean, otherwise we're going to have to create technology to sift through it because if this thing got big and there was like, I mean, what do we do if there's like 1,000 new proposals every single day? How do people catch up with that? Keep up with that? How does it, how? Well, people are how. Faces of things are how. Because it's like, if I'm watching Madame and it's like, Madame's always bringing up things that kind of tend to increase the supply of cogs, or the things she stands behind tend to do that. I'm in agreement with that. I'm almost picking her as a representative. Now, there are going to be times I disagree with her, so I'm throwing my votes behind somebody else in this proposal. And yeah, some things are as simple as binary, and we don't need this. A yes or no, up or down vote. But what happens when we start talking about allocations of percentages and everybody's got a different idea of, 10% of the treasury needs to go to this and 5% needs to be allocated to staking and 2% goes out to the reward system. And no, it should be 12%, 2% and 1%. And you got like 15 different ones that community's voting on it. It creates
But
like
that's
a
why you have a
structure.
council in a vote in a DAO, though, right? So
That's what
the
I think that's
council,
what I'm referring to.
yeah, well, the council will then sift through all of the proposals, and you would assume the council are, OGs for a better term, and
not
like
like
exactly what Pete was saying, like proposals are brought to him by his team members, and he looks at it from a community standpoint, going, "Do I think this will work? Do I think this will work? Don't think that's going to work. Not going to put through that. I might consider that." So the council would sift through those proposals and go, "Okay, well, those work. Those don't work. The ones that do work, let's narrow it down. Okay, we've got." I think Gralik said 5. We've got 5 potential proposals that we think would be beneficial for our community or for this DAO. These are the ones we are then going to push forward for a vote from everybody.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be 5. It could be 1
Yeah,
at a time, right?
I'm just throwing out a number.
We're not going to get like 100 proposals at one go, right? It's usually like one proposal, and then the community, and then the council looks at it and says, "Yeah, okay, we'll do it," right? Or this is stupid as hell. What the hell is this guy thinking? And then just trash it, right? And then of course, there has to be close loop to the guy proposing it.
It's
Get
not
notified that it's trashed.
Accepting everything.
If you have a look at the Alien Worlds thing, they have a council for each planet, and it's 5 people getting voted by the community. I think they use TLM for it, the token. It can be KOGs in this case. And then you have 5 people running the show. It's like the OGs, probably. And then it's like Pete says, you have a proposal which you need to think through, because you can have a proposal, but you need to be able to execute it. Meaning you need to have the technology for it, the idea, the whatever. It's not that easy, because all ideas can be proposed,
Yeah, of
It needs
course.
to be doable. It's this thing is more complicated than we think.
Which is
It's
why
nice to
this
throw
call is just
ideas
to
at everyone.
introduce it. Is to introduce this concept, right, of giving the community more power. And yes, I know we started off saying it's DAO, but it's not. I mean, I don't think we'll ever be a true DAO in the true sense, like a true DAO. That's why, if you want to call it cow, yeah, sure.
No, it won't, because the DAO won't own the IP to what we're governing. So there's
Right.
always an aspect of centralization with the
Mhm.
IP owner. And as it should be. I mean, none of us invented this shit, so we don't get the right to own it in that sense. But we have the right to own what we've purchased, which is the whole premise of Web3 and ownership of your assets in this capacity. So
Yeah, I mean, you own NFTs, right? You just don't own. It's very similar to trading cards, right? I own my trading cards; they're in my house, but I don't own the IP. I can do whatever I want with the trading cards. Right? I can burn them. I can give them away. Oh, Ramses is here.
I got
Hey,
an
Chris.
idea for how to generate voting power as an idea, just an idea where it could
Okay, shoot.
happen now before things can impact. What about an airdrop of a cow token or a cow cog, 1-for-1 for, like, in hypothetical, 1-for-1 for every cog that everybody currently owns gets airdropped into everybody's wallet, no matter where it is or who it is or how it is, even the scammers, the thieves, and the dead accounts and everything.
What
And
if it's
that
rather for
way,
every tube?
say what?
What if it's rather for every tube? Because that proves people understand the mechanics of cogs.
No, because I think then you alienate people who do like cogs, but might not
Don't
have
you?
the time to do all the trading to generate those. I mean, being able
Yes.
to trade and create, because you either have to have that or you have to have buying power in order to make them. And not everybody has that, and I don't think they should be punished for it. Some people have decent sized collections that they didn't tube up hardly anything or couldn't or had something happen or whatever.
Would we
I
not
like the
argue though
idea,
that
but
they're
I
not that
think it's
vested in the project in terms of
no. I
wanting
mean, well,
to
if I had
potentially steer the
30,000
direction of
cogs.
it?
Well, if I had time to buy 30,000 cogs but not tube them up, do you think I should be punished? And I hold on to them because I believe in the project, and I'm not a seller and I'm not a sellout. Do you think that person should be punished because what if they're working 16 hours a day because they got 5 mouths to feed, but
Yeah,
they
but
believe in the
that's the point.
project, so
But
they
that,
bought for a
you've
long
just made the
time?
point, Hanford. They don't have the time to be invested in it, then, so they shouldn't. That's kind of what I'm saying. Is don't you want the people who are actually in the battleground, actually engaging with the product, actually understand all the mechanics, actually there thinking up ideas to be the ones that have the power?
Off
So
the
some
bat,
random
yeah.
guy who can afford to buy a bazillion single cogs, but let's take Devil Hand. He's got only his personal interests, which are financial. He wouldn't be thinking about the community or anyone else, and then he would be considered an absolute whale because he's got shitloads. He could sway votes, but he's not at all vested in the community.
Well, how many cogs are there? 4 million and some? Who truly, well, this is something we should figure out as a community. Who is such a big whale that they could really railroad this idea? And can we figure out a fair way to exclude them if we think that they're nefarious in some way, the way Devil Hand? I don't think there's a person in here that would think that Devil Hand wasn't nefarious in some way and isn't a jerk and an asshole, and we should avoid giving him a lot of voting power. I agree with
He's a
that.
good dude.
No, for sure.
He is. But do
Yeah,
you
he's
think
not
he
a
would
bad
be
fella.
nefarious for his own benefit, contrary to how you think the rest of the community would be?
Yeah, 100%. But you can just do it like anything. The more you have, the less voting power you have.
Or you mean scale? Otherwise, that defeats the point.
What do you mean the more you have, the
It's
less
not an
voting power you
it's not a
have?
one for
So you're
one
saying that the
linear
guys who have
growth.
one cog has more voting power? That doesn't make
I think
sense, right?
I think a 1-for-1 drop is good because
What
here's
he's
the other thing.
saying
Once those
is it's
things are
not
out, they're going to be
linear.
bought, sold, and traded. You know, so I mean, the initial allocation is going to instantly start changing. You know, and in that context, since we're all getting them dropped for free and wax as cheap as dirt, people could literally just give their voting power to somebody they have faith and trust in and start consolidating into pools where it's like, hey, I've got 1 million voting power, even though I've only got 20,000 cogs, because a lot of people believe in my perception of things, as an example. You know, I mean,
So
the
basically,
landscape will instantly
send all
change.
my
Yeah.
votes to Hendo, right? I'll do
Yeah, I
that.
mean, and that's what I'm getting at. You know, if we just do a 1-for-1 as an example, and we could figure out a different structure, like first edition ultra rare gets you 4 points, and a third edition common is worth a quarter of a point, and have some kind of structure in between. I mean, all that could be talked about, discussed, and figure out pros and cons, because that should probably happen. But as a hypothetical 1-for-1 drop, bam, the market just got, let's say there's 4 million cogs, there's 4 million votes that just got put out there. Well, only people active in the community are going to be voting. Only people active in the community would be willing to buy, sell, trade, or move those. And only people who have faith in the project would be willing to buy them, you know, if people could sell them, you know, which would generate value in them, which could help the DAO, because the DAO is going to get a bunch because they're supposed to get Red Fox Lab supply of cogs and packs and all of that stuff. So, I mean, there's a lot of mechanics that could really benefit in that way. But I mean, that's one way we could do it. Then future, every cog that comes out in the future, all of that does not impact voting power. You know, it's just how many votes were there when this was created. That's it. Now there's a market.
No, but that's what this whole thing that me and Adela are kind of saying is, instead of having a linear thing for voting with power cogs, you make it a parabolic thing where it tapers off. So eventually, everybody can reach a point where their vote is essentially the same weight, rather than having whales just fucking run away from everybody.
No, I don't agree with that, Gecko, because I could just split my collection into 4 wallets. Then I got 4, still the same voting power.
Yeah,
as a
you,
linear.
your brother, your aunt, your sister, your cousin,
exactly.
your nephew's
So
brother,
that
sister's
doesn't.
cousin.
This plateau curve doesn't solve this issue. If that's what you wanna solve. And
It's
I'm
still
not.
better
I'm
than
just
making
playing
it
devil's
linear.
advocate here. I'm just playing devil's advocate here, because if I was a whale and I was thinking that I cannot get as much voting power than I can having 4 accounts, I'd do that, right?
Like, realistically, people are going to game it one way or another.
Yeah,
Whatever you do,
exactly.
whales are going to play however whales want to play. Like, it's
Correct,
just,
exactly.
it's the game.
Mm-hmm.
But truth be told, right now, since we hold such bulk in it, we really would control it going forward if it was limited to some kind of a token airdrop. I'm not talking token like I'm talking an NFT token. Like, make a new cog, it says cow on it. On the other side, it says 1 vote. You know, Pete could probably whip that out in 5 minutes, like his diamond cog. Yeah.
What?
You know, and then they're flat out there, and that's the voting power of it. Well, the people in this room represent a large amount of that voting power, and when you add what Red Fox Labs is holding in their treasury of all the packs and all the voting power in there, especially if we count every cog in every unopened pack and every cog in every tube, so it's an accurate one, you know. And maybe we could come out with some small addition with an even number and add up so that this becomes like a flat out like 5 million, you know, because I know that there's the unopened packs of Grimspiel and everything like that. If we counted it all up, make a nice round number, we could come up with some little special stupid addition or whatever just to fill that void in or whatever. I mean, you guys know what I'm saying. And then there's just 5 million votes out there. I mean,
Well,
I'm
yeah,
not going to be selling my vote. You know how much you could have to pay me to get my votes? You would have to prove to me that you are doing better for me in my investment than I think I could do for myself before I'd be willing to sell my votes away, because otherwise all I'm doing is fucking over my own investments by selling my votes.
True.
So just
makes
I
sense.
want to jump in
But
just for a quick second and just reiterate what I was sort of talking about in the chat there. So there are lots of ways to do the voting, and I mean it's a good thing to get thinking about right now, but it's probably not going to matter as much as a bunch of the other structure and as much as what's available. Are we going to be using WaxDAO? Have we agreed on a piece of like software or a tool to mediate this, or are we going to code something from scratch as part of the CAL
no,
process?
none of that has been even talked about.
Haven't got there yet.
Yeah, because if we're going to code something from scratch, we can talk about all this stuff in a lot of detail. But if we're going to use some other tool that's out there, we're going to be constrained by what that tool has as options, right? And
Well, this
might be worth
isn't
looking at some
being
of that.
it's not being spoken of as a true DAO because the bottom line is Red Fox Labs is going to retain the IP rights to KOGs, which means ultimately they have final say. So some of your questions we've actually already had about what happens if like Apple wants to come on board and really impacts things, you know, how would that? And we don't have all the answers and everything yet. But
Right.
this
So
truly
at any
isn't a
point,
truly
RFOX could
decentralized.
invalidate the DAO, basically.
Well, yeah. If the DAO voted on something that was unlawful. I mean, not everybody knows the laws of all the different countries, and we could vote for something that's innocuous and we're just unaware, but Red Fox has lawyers, you
Right.
know,
So ultimately, that
and
means they have the liability for all of this too, then, right? So it's not a DAO in either form. So we could vote for all sorts of stuff, and if they don't handle
oh
the
yeah,
legality of that, it's on them, not us.
yeah, because they own IP, they would have ultimate trump rights to anything we try and do because they own the IP, and we can't produce, manufacture, or represent it without their final approval.
Right.
I
So
mean,
basically,
ultimately,
they're proposing a contract to whoever we're going to be, and we'll be able to look at all the terms of that before we decide if that's something we want to proceed with as a group. And so now we're just getting organized as like a pre-DAO group to look at that together.
kind of right now, yeah. This is the initial throwing it out there. We're thinking about doing this because, like Benny had alluded in it, if the community doesn't want a DAO, there is no DAO. So if we don't agree to do this, what is the DAO? And why would Benny give it to somebody who isn't the community and isn't the DAO? So if we don't go come up with some kind of an idea or plan here as a community and group, which they've put forward, you know, they're offering us a little bit more power and authority, but accountability and responsibility to manage our own investment is a good way to look at it, in my opinion. You know, we have connections, we have ideas, we can help expedite things quicker because we have more time, effort, energy, resources to help the project go along rather than relying on the finite resources that Red Fox Labs has. You know, and I use me as an example. I'll dedicate 2 hours a day to this, just in whatever capacity I can to help make my cogs worth more money.
Totally. Okay. No, that's a good place to start. So yeah, at least knowing that, so there will be an agreement or something. So we would be getting a non-exclusive rights to use their IP basically, and we'd have to spin up as a independent company that has that arrangement with RFOX, or does it all stay under RFOX and we're basically like a council?
Pete would
I
have
think it's
to
more the second one. I think it's more the second one, Chris.
Cool. That feels safer for me too, because having a counselor, having something that works within RFOX, and RFOX ultimately still has all the responsibility, proves that they still have or want to keep skin in the game, and that this isn't something like an early divestment to make them more investable. So that's cool. And is there going to be
definitely not that.
yeah?
It's definitely
And is there
not
going to
that,
be a
yes.
treasury for us then every month or whatever, or do we have to come up with all the money?
Treasury. That's the thing. So that's the part that we haven't talked about yet. But I think like what Hanford's suggesting that we can the cow can take ownership of the stuff that we've got, like the packs, the whatever for giveaways and whatnot. But in terms of treasury, in terms of money, that
Yeah,
one
so
is
basically just does this represent the end of the development fund that's supposed to go to COGS monthly from RFOX, or
no,
is
because
this the start of
because
something new?
the development would still be done by RFOX.
And RFox and Benny has said that this won't prevent them from doing what they want with cogs as well. Like if they come up with an addition they want to put out, so we're just being given the say to like we also want this, you know, or we want to team up with these people and bring them into COGS Mint Lab and do this with them and that kind of stuff. And if it's a wise decision and it requires development of technology, Red Fox says that they'll stand behind us in it and kind of give
But
us what
not
we want.
fund us, right?
Huh?
Stand behind us, but not fund us, right? We'll have to raise our own funds to cover whoever would be developing things.
Oh, I
We'll
think
be
if we
developing
can
things.
prove the
RFOX will be
profitability.
developing things.
I don't think I heard that.
No, sorry. No. If you propose some things that require tech and development, from what we've been talking so far, RFOX will support that. RFOX will be doing the development.
Okay, cool. So basically, as part of
Is
whatever
retaining their
arrangement,
COGS department. They're retaining their COGS department and the current funding, it sounds like, for what they do with COGS. They just want to add us on top of it in our time, connections, resources, capabilities, those kinds of things, where we can help just get the snowball rolling bigger and quicker with their blessing. It sounds like Benny believes enough in us as a community that he's willing to hand over his baby to us, and it's still his baby, you know, and he's still paying child support. I don't know how else to describe it.
yeah, no, that's honestly, it's better for sure if if RFOX retains a lot of control here, and what we have is the opportunity to propose nice, polished projects. Have RFOX say, "Sure, we're going to put some money into that," and then have them handle development, unless we've already found people that are willing to develop it and have a reasonable rate. It feels a lot safer as long as RFOX is still keeping everything. And yeah, having Pete say explicitly that it's unlikely we're going to wind up with RFOX being controlled by somebody else that will make this hard on us later means that it's probably better to go that way
Yeah,
too.
but that one may change, right? Apple may as I know, right?
Right.
But in that context, if RFox got bought out by Apple, COGS would go parabolic, and we all know it. I mean, just the
Unless Apple bought
stupidity
the
of people
balls,
fumbling.
right? Like we've dealt with this with other companies before, where an investor comes in and they want one specific side of the company, and they basically say, "Hey, you have to get rid of all the other projects in order for us to invest in that." So, as long as in that case, again, if the DAO is pre-formed, then RFox could, in theory, say, "Hey, we're just going to hand over the IP. Is that okay with you, Apple?" And then we're focused on the vault.
Yeah, but in that case, then COGS would have the COGS DAO or the cow would get access to the IP, and then that would make it a lot cleaner, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. If this is something that we've thought about in advance,
if Apple doesn't want COGS.
Yeah, we could just say in the contract that, upon any buyout or whatever, it's clear that, we either have right of first refusal or there's a transfer of the IP if there's any conflicts and the purchaser doesn't want the IP. Okay, and so knowing all that, though, we're still talking about big group governance, even if we don't have, say, legal authority behind it. So it still might make sense to look at tools like WaxDAO or whatever for managing the voting, as opposed to spending dev time on building something ourselves, right? It's just the results of those votes need to basically go through RFox after.
WaxDAO is an open platform. I'm not familiar with that, so.
Yeah, it's been a little while
looking
since
into
I've looked at them, but they are open. I think anyone can register a new DAO on there, and it basically just has a large handful of tools for managing how tokens interact with governance.
So you'll need a fungible token on.
I
on
think it
Wax?
works with NFTs and fungible tokens. I believe both are supported.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I'll take a look at that.
That could be really good, especially if it can count our COGS accurately.
Yeah, I mean, just not spending development money on infrastructure for getting us organized if we can avoid it, and being able to spend that money on specific proposals to advance COGS could be ideal if possible.
I love a frugal woman Gotta say it. Hope that don't offend you, Chris.
Not at all.
See,
I'm
and
offended.
I don't care.
I
You're
love
like a
you
little
too.
brother. It's my job to kick you in the ass and make you tougher.
Wow.
You see?
It's more like a kick in the balls.
You mean headbutt me in the balls? Aren't you a little short?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, that sidetrack quick.
You gotta be tall to be able to reach the end of my long anaconda. Yeah, I'm African and all. You know what they say
No,
about them Africans?
See, this is how I know you don't have one. Because if it was
I'm
long, all you'd
so
have to do
well
is stomp on it.
endowed. That's why I want to be part of the Dow.
Well, all you'd have to do is stomp if it was that long. You wouldn't have to kick up. So gravity don't work that way.
You've been stomping on me all the time. On that bombshell. So Ramses, did you see my DM?
Ignore him, Chris.
That's what they've been doing already. Oh, it's an old foil.
Hey, Chris,
Sorry,
you know,
whose
like
DM did I
Alien World.
miss? Is there a trade offer that I'm behind on?
No,
It was a
this is
buy
not
offer.
I will log in and check things after this too. I've been totally remiss on that. So if people do
I had
have
to
trades
cancel
or
the buy offer because it was during their woofy stuff, so I was making very generous. Maybe not generous, depends on how you look at it offers.
He's a
Darn.
cheapskate. He's a cheapskate, Chris. Ignore him. I've seen all his buy offers.
Oh, so all my buys on KOGs Quest was cheapskate buys?
Most of them.
Whatever.
So, Chris, do you know of Alien Worlds?
Yeah, I know some of their structure. It's a little bit more complicated, but a lot of it is based on like trying to get things to actually govern on chain, not just for the voting, but the actual application of it as well, which does make it more complicated.
Okay, I'll take a look at this. I found a website. I'll definitely take a look at this about how to do it. You could create tokens as well. So
Now, do you think that the cow would be able to gain access to, say, all the old code for COGS Slam and for the other COGS games and applications that haven't fully been finished, and we'd be able to vote to work on that stuff if we wanted to?
I think we can because we have all the code. We as in RFOX. We still got all the code.
Right. Yeah, it's just whether or not RFOX would be okay with sharing that to the cow itself if the cow wants to contribute coding time.
Yeah, sure. I think that one we can talk about because that was a conscious decision. Like for COGS Slam, it was a conscious decision not to continue because it was going nowhere in terms of like we're just throwing resources into it and it's not going anywhere.
Exactly, but
yeah.
having some people running it internally would probably be a lot better. And like I would suggest if we were doing anything that involves like community-based development, that we figure out a bounty type system where we agree on some sort of compensation for post facto when it's all finished, as opposed to paying people while they're working on things.
Yes. Because previously it was just like, okay, game developer comes in and says, okay, we're paying this much for you to get it done, right? But then where else, like in this sort of scenario, it'll be better off to do like a bounty, like, you put up a bounty up front and then they'll work on it. And then if they complete it, then they collect bounty, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
One of the good ideas and news about all of this is Abbott Apple has pivoted in the iOS store in their stances regarding NFTs and Web things in some aspects. So it might be easier to get a COGS Slam game into the iOS store now.
It's a good point, right? And at least we could keep trying, right? And again, if the DAO decides, like, what we could do is we could build a web version of the game that is working and running, and then also wait for the applications for the mobile versions, right? There are a few options that we can do there so that we're not putting all our eggs in one basket. Especially, again, if we're running the code, we can make sure it's as translatable across those platforms as possible.
And this is what I was talking about a lot earlier before you got here, Chris, how I was saying this is a great opportunity because of time, effort, and energy that people can contribute. You know, there's got to be somebody in the community that can look at all the code in that game and can figure out how to get it approved by, like, Apple as an example, and how to add some more functionality that Apple now allows that they didn't allow before, where we don't have to rely on RFOX to put all that time, effort, and energy into it. I mean, I don't
Right,
know
and if they're
coding,
contributing
but
anything like a treasury, right, or they're contributing all of the packs, and we've got a way to compensate people that doesn't require us as a cow making a new COGS sale to fund us, then we're in a really good shape, right? Like, it doesn't have to be a lot of money, but knowing that we have something incoming from day one makes a huge difference.
Yes, agreed. As an example, when I brought up that 1-to-1 ratio for the COGS voting power, you know, the DAO would get a good chunk because it holds a whole bunch of packs. So, like, if you gave somebody either a compensation or reward or something that was packs or boxes or whatever, you would also transfer the voting power to them so that they would have maybe a little bit more say in whatnot as a reward in what they're doing. Especially if voting power as either a token or an NFT gain some kind of a value because we as the DAO are creating value for COGS, you know, because that's the whole point is can we as a community make our investment grow quicker than RFOX can on their own? And I think
Yeah,
the answer is
exactly.
yes.
Yeah, and in this situation too, if we're still a part of RFOX, then, like, the worst case scenario in that way is we build something so great that RFOX wants to disband the cow and run it themselves after a certain point, and that still results in us all winning because it's increased the value of the COGS and the ecosystem and made this worth being involved in, right? So it's not the end of the world if COGS or if RFOX retains some extreme power on that side.
I agree completely.
Okay, yeah, Chris Hanford, I got to drop off. I got a call with Apple right now.
Yeah,
because
you've
they're
been
gonna buy
generous with your
our
time,
box.
so don't worry.
But yeah, thanks a lot. I think I'm I think a lot. I mean, I like how you guys think, and I think this is definitely going to work. You just got to iron out some of these things first. But
Oh yeah, no, if you post some documents and we can edit and work on them all together and figure out the questions that need to be addressed and have a little back and forth, I think this is all super doable. And again, having it all be transparent and front facing is huge.
Yeah, because
let's make a channel in Discord where we can compile
me
it. So
and I think Benny and I talked a long time. Got many not proposals, but many options, right? Do we do a token? Do we do NFT voting? Blah blah blah, right? And I think you guys have that same idea as well. So, which is good. Which shows that that Benny and I have had. We're on the right path at the very least, right? So, I'll be meeting Benny next week. So definitely we'll be spending a lot more time with him, and this is definitely part of on our agenda.
Well,
Awesome.
Pete,
Just
you got
one
the
last
power
question.
of the
Is this
first 25 behind you, so you got my support.
Oh, shut up!
You're the
You
only
guys got
person
two
that's
XP.
not allowed to participate, and that'll be the first thing this DAO votes on.
Just very, very
Yeah, go
final
ahead,
question
Chris.
from me, Pete, was just, is there a really short turnaround time on this, or is this something that can take a few months to develop?
No. This is not a turnaround time thing. This is something that it's just that today was something that we wanted to go out and get some feedback or some listen to what the community is, and primarily the people in this community, I think, were on the call earlier before you joined, was, I think, we got a big chunk of the OGs, like really the COGS OGs, not Micah. Micah is non-OG, right? He's peasant. But yeah, a lot of OGs turn up. I mean, like, I'm like, oh shit, this is like,
At the peak of the call,
like
there was
back in the
close to
days,
100
right? This is
people.
like,
You kind of want to have the product owner of the vault on your side as the cow, because you're going to want to approach me for proposals.
nobody cares, Micah. They got me.
I do. I just want to be involved. Make me
Okay,
orange, for goodness sake. And
yeah,
you know which
so
orange I'm talking about. You
yeah,
see,
I
they've been
got run. I got run. I got
giving me
another meeting
time
right now.
about orange.
Apple's bugging me.
Guys have been orange all along.
Right. Thanks a
Cheers,
lot,
Pete.
everyone. Yeah. Bye.
Thanks, Pete.
Bye, Pete.
Bye, Numna.
Go to bed, Atesh.